Hello, and welcome to the bottom of the internet. This is another Dead Pixel, the podcast for people who hate podcasts. I am your host. My name is Nick. Today I'm joined by my good friend, a man who has never been abducted by aliens, but has abducted aliens. It's Joe. Joe, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. Sometimes they get to probing you, but the goal is you got to probe them first. I mean, how else are we going to get the technology for the cell phones and all that stuff?
What's your favorite spot to probe on an alien?
Well, it depends on the type, man. I mean, you got your little green one, little green ones, attack on Mars, but then you got the gray ones with the big black eyes. So it really does depend. I mean, so I guess the fact is they all have the eyes, so you might as well just go straight into those. I mean,
Mm,
it's the easiest access.
okay. Okay. That's good to know. That's good to know.
A little dark horror there, was it Dead Space 2 there, right?
Yeah. Other than that, how are you doing, man?
Doing all right. Yeah, things are going all right with us. Family's doing good. The new kids doing okay, so can't complain.
It's good to hear.
How about you? How are things on your end?
Well, I have a predicament. So my immediate boss, my manager, on uh this past Wednesday, he um closes the door to his office, which is not unusual, and then he sends a couple of us a message on the company chat saying that his wife just told him that her friend who had just stayed with them has gotten COVID, and his wife had not been feeling very well at all for the past like 4 or 5 days, something like that. And so he was like, "I'm gonna go home now because I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I have it or anything." So he was gone Thursday and today, and he just let us know that his wife did test positive for COVID, and so he's getting a test now. And I was like, kind of. Well, I don't know why you didn't go ahead and already get a test, but I guess it is whatever. Um, but he's getting a test now. So I wasn't around him. I mean, I was around him, but not like for that long and not like really close. And I have a Christmas party to go to tonight, but I'm thinking that it's probably for the best that I don't go to the Christmas party. And I was wondering what you think about that.
Yeah, dude, don't be that asshole. Do
Yeah.
not be that guy. I mean, because there's a slim chance that you got it. Um,
Yeah.
And I mean that's the thing is you don't know the other people around you, their situation. Probably one of those assholes probably have it too. So you shouldn't be going to the Christmas party anyways. Um, so
Just, yeah. Never go to the Christmas party. Never go to any party. No, I
I know
saw.
you're probably trying to hook up with someone. So therefore, yeah, you probably want to make a showing to try to show be like, hey, I'm here, But it's just you go there and then you be like, hey, you want to leave this party? I know you're hosting it, but you want to head out.
Yeah, I was 99% sure, but I was like, I just got the text from him saying, "Oh, I'm gonna get a test now," and I was like, "Well, does that what does that mean for me?" And I was just like, "That means I should probably not go to this, right?" But there was yeah, so I'm glad that you have confirmed for me that I should not be going to this
I'm a
party.
fan of being safe than sorry. Granted, you do have you did get your vaccine if I remember correct, right? So, and if you didn't, well, then that's more reason to be wary. But essentially, we did that with a friend of mine. His brother and sister-in-law both don't believe in getting the shots. Sure enough, they end up the sister-in-law caught it. Brother-in-law's like, or his brother, it was like, no, I didn't. Like I'm feeling fine. There's nothing wrong. And then he sure enough he tested positive. But what happened was they had my friend and his brother had hung out once before they found out his wife was had COVID, and he was planning on coming down to visit me. And it's like at the time my wife was pregnant, And we both agreed, like, no, dude, like you're probably, you might be fine, but just don't. And then he got himself tested over the weekend. That weekend, he's like, came back negative. He's fine, well, which is good because he has a little kid as well. But we're like, yeah, it's better safe than sorry because you don't need to be getting anyone else sick. So, and then if someone else, if you just happen to be that rare case that you do have it and you're just not feeling anything right off the bat, it's still that early incubation. You don't want to give it to someone who possibly is weaker immune system or something. So, yeah, just don't be that asshole.
Yeah, yeah. Now that I've expressed it verbally, I'm like, yeah, it's obvious. Just even though
No,
it's like
you really
twice
cabin
removed.
fever set in real hard, and I can see why a lot of people are like, I'm just gonna roll the dice. Fuck it, like let's go to concerts, let's do this and that. And, like, I totally see why people do it. I can fault them for it, but at the same time, I understand why people are willing to forego a lot of stuff. But and then because of reasons like that, you got that Omicron case that you mentioned a couple weeks back in New York at the
Oh
anime
yeah,
convention
yeah,
because so just better to be safe than sorry, and
yeah,
always, you don't want other people rolling the dice around you. So why would you roll the dice around them?
yeah, yeah. That's accurate. That's a smart way to think about it. But besides that, he wasn't at the Christmas party that we had last night before we officially knew, I guess. But the company had a Christmas party, and so I went to that um, because
Well,
like
you are affected anyway, so he's the he
yeah,
was the patient zero in your office. So
yeah, I'm definitely closest. He's closest to us. Like he's closest to me and one of my coworkers because we're all in the same department. But anyway, it's yeah. Now that I know, it's just got to be like nah. But there's also good news wrapped up in that because I mean, I wanted to go to the party. I wanted to go to the party, but there's also a really good reason besides maybe having COVID to not go to the party.
all right,
And that reason is that Final Fantasy VII Remake was just released on PC. So that happened yesterday, and I haven't had a chance to play it at all. And I had all this stuff planned prior to even knowing that came out. Uh, so when I found that, I was like, dang it, I've got all this stuff I have to do. I can't fucking play this damn game I've been waiting freaking year and a half to play. But now that I maybe have COVID, silver lining is I could stay in and play the shit out of some Final Fantasy VII Remake and see what that's all about.
yeah, because the one that came out for the PC is the full version with the extra DLC.
Yeah,
So I played the remake when it first came out to PlayStation. Got the copy from my library, so I played it on the PS4. And yeah, it's a really pretty game. Um,
yeah.
I think it's like, I don't know, 40% more fluff than they needed.
That's what I've
Um,
heard. But I'm glad that I kind of know this now so that I can know going in, you know, like what I'm in for and that I don't
yeah,
get like I have my expectations set correctly.
yeah. I ended up just like I like to usually adventure and look at all when it comes to a semi-linear game like that, where it's like I like to search all the areas. I like to just look for hidden items and stuff like that. At a certain point, I was just like, no, dude, I'm just gonna beeline this thing because I'm sick and tired, and that you don't really need to grind too bad. Like it's not really a grind heavy game, which is nice. You don't really need that many summons in the game, so that's also really helpful. They give you a few of them, and you can pretty much carry that through the end. There's a lot of extra stuff if you want to find it. There's plenty there for you. There's a lot of challenge, like combat challenges and stuff like that. But honestly, it's mostly, it's a solid game. It's pretty as hell.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it. I'm a really big fan of the first one, but that's the thing is, the first Final Fantasy game was great. Any other material after that is all kind of hot garbage.
Yeah,
And I
but
forgot how bad Final Fantasy, how bad they diluted the Final Fantasy series because my brain was only stuck on Final Fantasy VII. That game was like my middle school, life. That and Metal Gear, the original Metal Gear, was really great. So, and then I realized, oh yeah, wait a minute, Dirge of Cerberus was really bad. Um, Final Fantasy, they did the the movie, which waited forever. Beautiful, just animation quality. Not Spirits Within, also beautiful, but just that tanked their entire film division. They
That
that
was a
literally closed the
mistake.
Hawaii office, I believe, and then they did. But when they did the Final Fantasy VII movie, that's actually real. That has correlations with this game, which
It's
should not have happened.
it's called Advent Children. I have heard some spoilers about it and I don't really have the full context for some of the stuff that happens toward the end. So it is a little so I'm just kind of trying to keep that sort of at the back of my mind, but also not think
It
about
doesn't
it
matter. It
at all.
honestly, it won't really play into effect until like very close to the end.
That's kind of what
So
I heard. But like, yeah, you're talking about like Advent Children, right?
yeah, that's it. That's yeah. So that was like it was like I don't know. It's like that Cowboy Bebop live action when you first like when it like because it was so long ago. You're like, oh, I've been waiting for the Final Fantasy thing to happen, and yes, it's happening. And then you watch it, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? I got what I wanted, but
Well,
this is not what I wanted.
it's a perfect anime movie because like Jan Ochoa said about this one anime movie that came out one time, which I think is all anime movies, and that is it changes everything and it changes nothing. And
Yeah.
it's just like okay, but and that's just the way that it has to be because they've already ended the show they wanted the way they wanted to end the show, but they want to make some money, which I don't blame them for. And it's like, well, if you can make something supplementary that just kind of that doesn't really go anywhere, but also kind of gives me a little bit more at a higher quality, maybe. Because, like, in Advent Children, like, I remember when that came out and the magazine, back when magazines were still a thing, the magazine covers and stuff with Cloud and Tifa and Eris and stuff is just like, they're just so highly rendered and they looked so good. They just looked freaking perfect. Oh, yeah, I'll put it in front of your face. So explain to our audio audience what do you have there?
I just reached behind me and grabbed an inbox figure of Final Fantasy Advent Children. This one happens to be Vincent. The first run was three figurines that were it was Tifa, Sephiroth, and Vincent.
How
And I just happened to be unboxing things and just coincidentally had it right outside the camera shot. And I was like, I'll just grab this for you know.
how do
I
you
have a lot of weird shit.
how do you have that?
I worked at GameStop at the
It
time.
just fell off the
Um,
back of a truck before it got to GameStop. Is that what I'm hearing?
I got it. I got it with my employee discount. What are you talking about?
Okay, employee discount. Yeah.
We, yeah, it was. No, I got my first copy of Advent Children was a bootleg that was like, I don't know, not even like 300 some, not even 300 something p. It was just this
Uh,
postage stamp. I think it was Real Player, and it was just this really bad quality. So when you blew it up, it even on a old computer, non HD, it was blurry as hell. That one of our employees, because he torrented he got a copy from it was a Japanese copy or something like that. Someone recording from the theater or something. Probably I don't even remember now. I just remember he gave us some copies. It was that I watched the second Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, and I also watched I think it was Matrix Reloaded that way. The worst quality possible. But you know what? I don't think I missed anything. Of course I do own Advent Children now, and I'm like, yeah, this was way okay back when it first came out. This was really neat, except for that ending. The ending was just horseshit.
yeah, it definitely goes real anime. I remember at the end it goes
It
real
goes
anime.
Looney Tunes. What are you talking about, man? They all daisy they barrel monkeys their ass out of a flagship to save you know save Cloud. They all jump. Yeah, it's super
It
stupid.
is one of those things
Oh
where I'm just
man.
like, oh my gosh, what did I
And
like? Why did I like this?
yeah, no, it's embarrassing. It's like, yeah, dude, this is really cool. Watch this, and all of a sudden you show something like that. You're like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
ignore that part. But the rest of it's pretty cool. I swear.
yeah, but
Uh,
I did go back and watch a little bit of it a few weeks ago, and I was like, I remember this looking better back in 2005 or
It
2000.
was bleeding edge, man. There was no
Dude,
no CG that crisp, that of that high level
it
quality,
looked so
hands down.
good, and now it just looks like, and it still looks okay. It just looks kind of blurry now. It just doesn't look quite the same. But anyway, so I'm excited about FF7R, and I'm gonna be playing that tonight. Shite load. Um, okay, so I guess we can go ahead and get into the other shit. If you don't have anything else you want to say at the top of the thing.
Yeah, we're good.
No?
Let's go into this.
All right, man. So we'll go into what we've been watching. I have been watching a little TV show from HBO called Band of Brothers.
Yeah,
So
I heard about this one. This was
I have breaking news. Band of Brothers is good.
you like it because it has what's his face from Friends in it, right? Ross, that's it.
Yeah,
I don't know
Ross,
his real name.
David Schwimmer, I think is his real name. Could be wrong. I don't care. So, which is funny because this is like right in the middle of Friends era. This TV show first aired, the very first episode aired September 9th of 2001. So 2 days later, a huge American tragedy would occur, and that is Nickelback's Silver Side Up album would be released. Um, uh, have you ever seen that meme?
No,
It's,
I haven't.
it's
But it's surprising. I'm like, I'm not going to question why you know that. I'm just going to let it go.
I I don't know when I saw that, but like years ago, I saw this thing. It was like September 11th, 2001. Like a huge blah blah tragedy, blah blah blah, horrible thing happened, and then it was like Nickelback's album was released, and I was like, man, that's so funny. Anyway, but this show, Band of Brothers is. I've always heard this show is really really great, and I didn't get a chance to watch it because I didn't have HBO whenever it came out. Um, but over the years, just kind of more and more of my friends have seen it, and they always say it's really great. And I'm like, okay, so like, how great can it be? But I started to watch it, and the first episode is good, but so I guess I should start with saying what this show's actually about. So, Band of Brothers is about the 101st Airborne Division during World War II. Basically, the days leading up to D-Day, when they're airdropped in, and then the time after that through the Battle of the Bulge. And I'm on episode. I'm in the middle of episode 8 right now, and I think it goes up to the end of the war. But basically, it follows kind of a group of men that were in that paratrooper division, and kind of the things that they did. Um, so, like the first episode is pretty. It's good, but it's just them at the camp, the training camp prior to D-Day, and it's all right. But but I was like, okay, so they're here, they're doing their thing, and they're kind of getting used to they're kind of getting you used to all the characters and stuff. But in episode 2, they get dropped in, and then they start fighting, and I was like, okay, so we're getting into some more fighting stuff. But then episode 3 happens, and I guess episode 2 they're kind of fighting at night and stuff, and it's just like you can't really see a whole lot. So
It's a slow start. It kind of is. It's establishing people, rank, their personalities, and yeah, it doesn't really start picking up until about episode 3.
and then yeah, episode 3 happens, and it's like, holy shit, here we go. It's full on Saving Private Ryan. I mean, it was produced by Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. So, and it's like probably the very next thing that they did after Saving Private Ryan, because that came out in '99, I believe.
Yeah, it
Um,
is hot off the heels of that. It's still fresh in our mind, and they have they still have that taste of what it was like to film. So they you still had that chop. So they weren't like rusty. They're like, yeah, this is how it should feel. This is the grittiness of it. And if I remember correctly, this was one of the first big really big shows that really came out being like, oh, I should most definitely get a paid channel for this. This and Sopranos kind of owned the paid networks around the same time. But this was a short bit. This was just a special,
A miniseries.
A miniseries, and that's what made this really neat because you knew it wasn't going to run forever, and it was such a high production quality compared to anything at the time. So it really made it made a lot of waves. And then like it made it really I think amped up a lot of the quality of these type of things. I actually own this the old metal tin
Oh yeah,
DVD set.
I remember seeing
Yeah,
that
so
before.
thanks to GameStop as well. Yeah, I own a lot of shit.
Thanks.
Like they used to sell movies, do used movies there. So I have
Yeah.
way more shit than I wasted so much money in that it recycled back into the company.
Yeah,
So
recycled
no,
back, sure.
it's a super awesome series, and if no one's ever gotten a chance to see it, it does a really good job. It still holds up. I watched it again a few years back, and I'm like, yeah, you know what, this is still really good. It doesn't because it's a period piece. There's not a lot that they do with it that like, oh, that aged badly or something like that. It's not like people make fun of J.J. Abrams, for his early movies that made him popular for be like, oh, lots of lens flare. And I'm like, yeah, that was the aesthetic at the time. Or like certain movies will have like a lot of
Yeah.
early 2000s horror movies had a lot of green tinge to it because that was like the filter that they put on to try to make it like The Ring and Grudge and stuff like that would have a lot of those kind of like certain light aesthetics. But no, it's like this still holds up pretty well. At least that's what I
Yeah.
felt. And I like I said, maybe 3 years ago, I ended up rewatching it,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
I
like
still really like it.
it is a little dated. I would say it's because I did watch a little bit of Saving Private Ryan to kind of remind myself, and Saving Private Ryan is it's also showing its age a little bit, but it fares better because it's a full on like multi-million movie production with directed specifically by Spielberg and stuff. But this, I mean, this for a TV show, can't even imagine like watching this on HBO in 2001. I would have just been like fucking blown away because it is super high quality. But like the thing about this, the way that the Band of Brothers is made and the way that Saving Private Ryan is made, as far as war movies go, is most war movies don't film strategy properly. They like there's a lot of old war movies where they just show them shooting at each other and then show them dying, but you don't really understand where the line is and where like these guys have to fall back now because they're surrounded. Like I think like We Were Soldiers, I mean that was a pretty big movie that came out in the early 2000s, and that it just it wasn't it was okay, but it just wasn't as good because it didn't focus on that like war, like the strategy of war aspect. But like
Yeah, but that's an apples and oranges comparison
I
because it
know.
was Vietnam and Vietnam had no battle lines, and that's what made that war like so hard to control,
Yeah.
things of that nature. Because I mean, you get things like Hamburger Hill where we would fight, get a lot of people killed to take over a control point for a hill, and then we would literally fall back, and then we'd take it over again, and then we'd fall back again. That happened a lot. Uh, there's or was it Tiger? Shit, I can't remember. I might have gotten my battle placements wrong, but that happened a lot in Vietnam, and because there was no hard line being like, this is our front, we're moving this, but also just in the squad based things like in the city encounters and stuff like that, that was much more apparent back then. And so it is difficult to say.
I agree
So
with
I actually
you.
really, as a Vietnam movie, I actually really like We Were Soldiers.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
it's good. I like it. It's good, but as far as like filming combat, I just don't think it holds up because I think that like yeah, Vietnam was more confusing, especially probably that battle, but watching it I didn't have the same like feeling like like as a spectator I was oriented, whereas even in like the chaos of some of the battles of Band of Brothers, I do always feel like I'm oriented on the battlefield. Like even though it jumps from one group to another, it's always like, okay, I know where I am as a viewer and I know what's at stake, even if the people who are fighting in the show, even if they don't know what's going on precisely. So I guess it's just like what you prefer or what you're willing to put up with. But like as far
Yeah,
as like
I understand what you're talking about, and I think like for example, a modern one it would be I think Black Hawk Down did a pretty good job about
yeah
following groups well and having kind of a placement. And that is something that just in film in general, I think is having a lot more trouble with action scenes because everyone's going to a hand cam, but also U.S. films like to do a lot of hard cuts. Um, it gives you doesn't give you the proper placement in a room even.
yeah
There was a really good someone did a really good point of you saying like Avengers, the first Avengers movie, they literally have to do a hard jump cut to every like close up to every face in the room when they're all standing around the table instead of having just a good sweeping or good panning shot of everyone. And that's opposed to, for example, like a lot of martial arts films. Um, a really good one is The Raid. They do a really good shot, a good job about keeping placement. Despite all the action happening, they're not doing all these rough cuts to mask the fighting.
right
Because when you're pulling punches during acting, they have to do a lot of hard cuts to make it look like you're doing a good hit. But they really do a good job of making you feel like you know your position in the room and where they are as the action's happening. So like The Raid was really good about that. I can't remember the other films. There was a couple others that came out around the same time that were nowhere near as good because of those hard cuts. And so yeah, I didn't think about that with Band of Brothers, to be honest. But I wasn't looking at it as I was rewatching it just for the heck of it. Last time I watched it, I never really thought of that. And your point is really valid. I mean, I'm kind of curious to rewatch it again now, and just with that concept in mind.
yeah
But that's a lot of time to put in.
well I would say like just if you're gonna rewatch any of it, I would just say jump in, rewatch episode 3, and pay attention to because what I found interesting about it was in episode 3 they are making a run at these artillery guns that the Germans have, and so these artillery guns are all like in a line, and they always orient everything based on the artillery gun that they are attacking. So there's a trench that leads up to it, and there's kind of woods and stuff around it. And so they just keep track of like they just keep that artillery gun like in the shot, in the background, or in the depending on where they are. But it's always kind of in the shot, so you always know, okay, I'm to the left of it, I'm to the right of it. And I was like, okay, this is. And I noticed kind of the same thing with Saving Private Ryan with that first scene. I mean, they just keep those bunkers like there and the beach there, so you're always really well oriented, and I like that. Anyway, so just a little bit more about it. The characters are all really good. Nothing is really overacted. A bunch of dudes that were super young, probably just getting their start in acting. James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, who play Xavier and Magneto in the new X-Men movies. They both have bit parts in this. The guy that plays Winters, who's the captain, and then I think what does he go up to the next rank? The major, I forget. But he is. I mean, I think this is kind of the beginning of his career.
Yeah, that should be major.
He later went on to do Billions, and before that did can't think of it. The terrorism show Homeland, I think is what it's called. But then there's Donnie Wahlberg is in it too, and a few other people that I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen him in this and seen him in that. So definitely a great cast, probably before anybody even knew who they were. So very well done there. But I'm really looking forward to the last 2.5 episodes. Probably finish up those this weekend. Really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's better late than never. It is.
Yeah.
Everyone should have this on their repertoire just to it's a good example of a good TV show, done well. That like I said, it's yeah, some things have maybe aged out, but for the most part, it still holds up in my opinion. So let me know when you finish it, how you think of the thing as a whole, because yeah, I remember loving the crap out of it at the time. But once again, there was nothing of this scale and quality when it first came out.
Yeah, I remember it was a big fucking deal back then, and even up till even now, people just talk about how great it is. All right, so that's gonna be it for Band of Brothers. And then you and I both watched a Netflix show. Would you like to tell people what that is, Joe?
Yeah. So Netflix dropped a movie called Red Notice. It has Ryan Reynolds and The Rock. I can't remember his real name now.
Dwayne
Yeah,
Johnson.
that's right, Dwayne Johnson. The it's and it has Gal Gadot.
Yeah, that's her name.
Yeah, Wonder Woman. I just know her as Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's all she is. Because that's what I first saw her in, and that's how it's like. It was funny because I didn't realize it was her until there's a scene where she fights with a staff or a spear, and I'm like, wait a minute,
Hang
is
on.
that Wonder Woman? And I'm like,
Oh,
I
come on,
paused it,
Joe.
and I clicked IMDb, and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, let's go, Gadot. All right.
Gal
I didn't
Gadot.
realize who it was the first because the first time you see her, she has this giant fur coat and stuff like that, and I'm like, I just didn't recognize her. It's it's just a I don't know a action like heist comedy is the best way to put it.
Yeah, so maybe lay out the premise a little bit.
So, all right, Ryan Reynolds is a self-proclaimed world's best thief, and he's very good at making forgeries of things and then making a replacement, swap. While Dwayne Johnson is a FBI profiler, and he's been hunting him. I can't remember if he has a code, if Ryan Reynolds has a code name off the top of my head. Um, I really can't remember now.
I can't think of
But
it. Sounds like he should, but I don't remember what it is.
yeah, and then Gal Gadot is the other top thief and known as Bishop. And essentially, that's what happens is uh, Dwayne Johnson intercepts Ryan Reynolds and then arrests him, and then he gets framed for being his accomplice, and by a third party, Interpol. Interpol then gets the information that, oh wait, this FBI profiler doesn't exist, and so you must be working with them, and now we're throwing you in jail. And then they have to escape jail together, and then they go hijinks ensue.
Yeah.
It's a lot of witty banter. So it's a Ryan Reynolds movie. So if you like Ryan Reynolds doing his Ryan Reynolds thing, then yeah, it's just that. It is a great popcorn film. It's just if you just want to chill, not relax, not have anything, nothing you need to really stay super focused on. Not a lot of twists and turns. It's pretty self-explanatory. But it's a good movie as far as just simple entertainment. It won't enrich your life any more than but it'll at least it's a good way to kill a evening. So
You know what this movie is?
what?
This movie is The Rundown. Do you remember The
I'm trying to
Rundown?
remember the rundown. That was the one where he's the Dwayne Johnson's in the forest for some reason. That's
They're
all I remember.
they're in the jungle, and
Is it? It's not Owen Wilson. It's someone else, right?
it's Sean William Scott is the guy that would be in the place of Ryan Reynolds in this case. So The Rundown is a movie about basically, yeah, a tough aspiring chef is hired to bring home a mobster's son from the Amazon, but becomes involved in the fight against an oppressive town operator. So it's definitely more like it's definitely has some differences, but like Dwayne Johnson is kind of the same character, and Sean William Scott is this like idiot, funny asshole. And then it has Rosario Dawson in it. I don't know. I just kind of realized that their movies are these two movies are sort of similar. But yeah, like in Red Notice, Dwayne Johnson is he's some kind of a Interpol guy, and he's hunting down
FBI profiler. He
yeah
was assisting because that's what they keep on referring to him being out of his jurisdiction.
yeah
Um,
Anyway, it is pretty good. I was actually pretty impressed with it, just about all the way through, especially for a Netflix movie. Uh, I thought the jokes were. I
Sorry.
thought, you're right. I thought the jokes were pretty all right. I could have used a little bit more Gal Gadot. I felt like she was. I mean, she was in it like enough and more toward the end, but she was. I could have used a bit more of her, I guess, but it was kind of crowded as it is.
I think it was, yeah, it was a good movie, but it's better than any Netflix thing has the right to be.
Yeah, probably.
So
Yeah,
it was just I don't know. There's not really much else to it. It was, there's a little bit of twists to it, and I kind of saw that coming. I actually
yeah,
called it out to my wife, and I'm like, yeah, here, like, it's probably this, and sure enough, like, not that long later, like, yep, that's it.
yeah.
So
So I will say that like it is this is probably one of the first movies I've seen from Netflix where I was like, this could really be a like a theater movie. Just about. I feel like this movie could have a little bit more money put into it, with a little bit more oomph in some of the set pieces, some of the action set pieces. Though they were really good in this, I would call them like A minus tier. They're not quite, Michael Bay level A plus tier, but it's definitely a step up. And to get all three of these people, I mean, these three are pretty much the hottest in Hollywood. I can't think of really anybody that would be bigger than these three. Maybe you could replace them, but I don't think you get anybody that were as far as action goes. I don't think you could get anybody that was bigger. Um,
I think with this generation of um, kids, I would say they're the biggest currently. I mean, I think you can easily replace them as far as big name action stars, but as they do occupy a weird space where they're that action meets comedy.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
they have that dynamic because when you're talking about the rundown, that's '03 or something like that, early 2000s, and
Hmm.
that was when Dwayne Johnson was still The Rock. He was not known as Dwayne Johnson.
I think that was his
Uh,
first movie that he did.
Maybe because I know right after that, or around the same time, he did uh, not Walk Hard, Walk Tall. I think it
Yeah,
was.
Walking
Uh,
Tall. Yeah,
yes, yeah, and then that was equally good bad movie. It's
yeah.
a simple cheesy action movie that you watch it because like, okay, let's watch this
I,
stupid stuff happen.
I never saw
uh,
Walking Tall, but I liked the rundown. I mean, it was it was silly in the best ways, especially like there was an Arnold Schwarzenegger cameo where The Rock goes into the club and Arnold Schwarzenegger passes him in the hallway. In like a split second, he does is he says to The Rock, "Good luck," and just like keeps walking. And it's kind of like, okay, he's kind of passing the torch. That's kind of cool. But then also Sean William Scott like yelling "Establish dominance" to The Rock as he fights him. I think he fights a monkey or something. It's so
um,
funny. Oh my
was that
gosh.
the same guy from in Role Models?
Sean William Scott is from American Pie is what I know him from. He's
Yeah,
Stifler.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he was. I'm pretty sure he's the in Role Models, he's Paul Rudd's partner in that one, and they used to work for or they work for an energy drink company. Essentially, it's Red Bull, but it's Minotaur. It's associated with their local
It's pretty
hockey
good.
team or something like that, and so he's the one in the Minotaur costume, just going Minotaur, like, as they go promoting drug awareness at high schools, and they're giving like free cans of this energy drink, and it has one of the best lines ever because they both go to the urinal and it's coming out like fluorescent green or something like that.
Oh, oh,
And it's just like uh, at one point he goes, Paul Rudd says like, yeah, we're peddling poison, and then he goes, the other guy goes, it's not poison, it has juice. So Whenever I have an energy drink and it says like 5% juice, that's all I ever think about. It's not poison; it has juice.
That's perfect. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But anyways, back to Red Notice. Yeah, it was fun. Like I said, it's a good waste of a time. It's honestly, I think they do a good job. They have good. The way they work off each other is really well done. You got decent funny man, straight man combo.
yeah,
Um,
and at the end it sets it up for a sequel. Like no spoilers, but it does set it up for a sequel. So I was like, okay, I could definitely watch another one of these. Especially now they've kind of done it once. They probably will hopefully be able to get more rapport and have the jokes land even better next time. So I'm looking forward to
yeah,
that.
I can totally see that happening. Yeah, and that was like I said. It was. I recommend if you got some free time and you like either any of those actors, most definitely give it a shot.
For sure. And then you watched a couple other things too.
Yeah, so I've been so there's a Netflix there's also a TV show called Lucifer. It originally was I believe it was a WB show. And then
I thought it was Fox.
around I'm sorry?
I thought it was Fox. I thought it was on Fox.
You okay, so I forget who originally had it, and then I thought it got bought out by WB or Netflix or something like that because they actually
Okay.
it kind of I think it's after season 4,
Mm-hmm.
season 3 or season 4. I think it might have been after season 3 into season 4 they ownership changed. And so that's neither here nor there. They had essentially a year or so ago, a year and a half, maybe 2, something like that. They went up to season 5.5, and they just stopped. And then they waited. You had to wait until they finished out season 5. And sometime last year, they actually put out season 6 as well, and that's it. It's done.
Oh, okay. I
Um,
didn't know it was done.
so yeah, it's fully done. My wife and I have watched up to that season 5.5, and it was all right. It's a fun ride. So the concept is uh the devil got tired of being in hell, and so he wants to take a vacation. So he ends up living in LA, and he's established as a nightclub owner. Uh, and he does essentially he helps people out. He knows connections and he's willing to do things dirty. But he's not like they portray him as a lovable Brit essentially because they give him a British accent.
Okay.
Um, and it's funny because I didn't realize it. But after I started watching this, I had also uh, ended up watching. I rewatched Merlin. The old It's an old BBC TV show, like 5 seasons or something like that, and it has Anthony Stewart Head as uh, King Arthur's father. I can't remember his name now. Uther, yeah, Uther, I think. Um, and I was just after, and every now and then I'm like, there's this one other character that came in who's like a semi villain of a different nation. I'm like, wait a minute. And I paused it. I'm like, that's him. It's Lucifer, but like a bit younger. And I'm like, that's hilarious. So, yeah, just to see him as a different role, but also being a villain. No, but what happens is in Lucifer episode 1, essentially, is someone he helped out who used to be a waitress at his club. She became a movie star, and she is essentially gunned down in front of his club, and he wants to know what the heck happened. He kind of blames himself because it was him who put her into stardom, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. He has the ability to the only real power he has per se, other than like super strength and invulnerability, is to make you say what your desire is. So,
Hmm.
if yeah, he'll if you want if he asks you what do you desire, you'll automatically blurt out whatever it is, no matter how ridiculous it is. Um, and he ends up in order to try to find out the killer. He's working. He keeps on crossing paths with the detective on duty, and Chloe Decker, and they, of course, they have a lot of that, cop banter vibe. Like he's, obviously, he's trying to be mischievous, and she's playing the super straight cop, and it's interesting because he realizes his power doesn't work on her. So when he asks her, what is it that you desire? and she just looks at him deadpan and like, "Is that it? Does that work on everyone?" And he's like, yes, it should." And so because of that, it piques his interest in her. Um, and yeah, it's pretty decent. I like it. I like it quite a bit. I ended up watching, like I said, my wife and I ended up just watching that quite often, and ever since that, life just got in the way, so we never got to finish out when they finally brought out the second half of season 5, and they brought out season 6. We just never got around to it. But a buddy of ours, we introduced him into the series. He ended up. We brought him late, like shortly before the second half of season 5 came out, and so we showed him a little bit of the first season when he was visiting. He ended up binge watching the entire thing, and then he finished the whole thing up, and he's like, "Yep, that's it, season 6, it's done." Um, he's like, I'm like, "Is it done, or is it like, and we're leaving the back door open?" He's like, "No, it's pretty done. I mean, you could technically make it work if you wanted to do a spinoff, but no, it's fully it." And they actually did a crossover. I believe it was with the Flash, because Flash is also WB,
So it must be,
and so
yeah, it must be CW, yeah.
oh yeah, that's right. WB is CW. It's all the same.
Yeah,
Same parent company.
that's accurate, yes.
Yeah. So they ended up. He ends up being in an episode or two of like the Flash, as himself, as Lucifer, the character Lucifer. Too bad it doesn't work the other way, but that'd have been pretty funny to see Barry show up in LA.
Yeah, it'd be fun to
Because
see the actor just walking around. That would be kind of, even if he's like not the Flash or whatever, but you would know as a audience, viewer, what the
yeah,
joke they were trying to make was.
but so it's it's
So
totally a good funny series. He has his brother who is like uh the super uptight angel, Amenadiel, and he
right.
comes in and he's the goody like suck up to God, brother, and he's like, "You really need to go back to hell. You need to, they're running amok and you need to control it." Like, no, I don't. In fact, I'm pretty happy here. And he
So
has, yeah.
is it so it's like what percent would you say is drama versus comedy?
It is mostly lighthearted comedy,
Okay.
more than real drama. There are certain bits of it that's has some drama to it, but it's not really. It's I think an episode of CSI has more quote unquote drama than it, because
Okay.
it's not as cheesy. I mean, to the point where they have to go episode 1, they end up going to uh the actress who died in question. She's seeing a therapist, so they go to see the therapist, and in order to get her to divulge information, he essentially, apparently his another power is he just has an animal magnetism towards women,
Mm.
uh like, so he cranks their hormonal level up to like 12. And so he pretty much promises her that if you divulge the information, this will happen. And so she gives in and she tells him what he, and then they're like, the detective's like, "I have to, like, we got to go." And he's like, "Okay, I'm sorry, but I always keep my word, so I'll be back later for you." And he does. He comes back, and then next episode, he starts seeing the therapist as an actual counselor, and he pays with sex for the most part.
Mm.
So
Yes, that's
completely
kind
breaks
of
the
cool.
oath, right? Any real, she could lose her license.
Yeah, she's taking advantage of him, that's for sure.
So yeah, it's a good show. I like it a lot. It falls it's better than a lot of the other CW shows. It doesn't have that. CW likes to do a lot of real angsty melodrama.
Yeah.
I know because I've watched a lot of their stuff, to a certain point. The Arrow, The Flash, Supernatural.
Yeah.
Supernatural's one I gotta finish up because I'm like, I've only made it to like season 10 or something like
Oh,
that.
jeez. What are there, 13 seasons? I don't
Ah,
know.
shoot, something like that. 14 maybe. I forget, but
Uh,
they're done too now. They're officially done, and that's why I'm more excited to actually go ahead and finish that out. And because I think one of the guys ended up becoming CW ended up doing, I think, a Walker Texas Ranger reboot. Uh, it's just called Walker, so I'm assuming
yeah.
it's Walker Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
and
that
I'm like,
it's
you can't. No, you can't do that. Like they must. It must be completely different. It must be no karate in it or anything.
just
So
roundhouse kicks. That's all I want. That's all I want.
yeah, I would like to see him do a flying sidekick into car window.
Did you ever see that bit on Conan O'Brien where he had a lever and it was
That was
just
when they merged with their companies merged, and so he goes, we legally have access to all their stuff. That bit went for a while.
so he would
Um,
have this lever next to his desk, and he'd do it before the guest came on, but sometimes he would do it while the guest is there, where he'd pull this lever and they would play a clip of Walker Texas Ranger doing a roundhouse kick, and it was always a different one. But it
it
might
wasn't just roundhouse kicks though; it was literally just asinine things from that show. That was the
oh,
thing.
maybe that
That
was it.
so
I remember
because
it
he had
was always
access to
roundhouse
all
kicks,
the back
but
catalog, he'd pull the lever, and it showed him Chuck Norris as Walker Texas Ranger. He walks he's in a field, bends, takes a knee, takes a little bit of the dirt, tastes it, spits it out. A plane crashed here. Wait a minute, what?
but it was great because Conan would wait for like the middle of a like Tom Hanks or Tom Cruise or some actor to be in the middle of their story, and he'd be like listening until, and then he'd just like pull the lever randomly. So funny.
Yeah. So the fact that they made a new one of those too, but I don't know. As far as CW show goes, though, I like Lucifer,
Cool,
and
cool.
so it's on Netflix. If honestly, watch like maybe 2 or 3 episodes, and if you don't like it, then you can bow out. I say give it at least a 3 episode shot. But
So
it's totally worth it.
have you finished it?
No, we're currently latter half of. We just literally started last week.
Okay.
Um, so we've now almost finished with season 5. And it's okay. It's not, it's overall it's good, but it's not the best of their stuff. But apparently, according to my buddy, he really liked season 6.
Okay. So
He
they
said
end
it
it.
ended really strong. So it's not disappointing. Because sometimes when they take a break halfway through a season, it's always a little worrying.
Yeah.
Um, so I can't say anything because at the moment I can't really say what's going on because it's just huge spoilers all around if I just even mention certain characters. So that I just have to leave it like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So we were watching that, and then as of yesterday, I started watching Hawkeye. Uh, so I didn't realize, I went to Disney Plus, and I'm like, you know what? Couldn't even remember what was supposed to be the next slated thing because they did the Marvel's What If series after Loki, and I had zero interest in seeing What If, to be honest. So I was just like, all right, let's see what they got. I'm like, oh, Hawkeye, okay, cool. And then I realized, oh, there's 5 episodes, okay. And I looked up how many episodes, and they're like, oh, there's only supposed to be 5. Sure, let's give this a shot. And I watched. I ended up watching up to episode 3. Within since yesterday evening, and it's all right. Episode 1's a little disappointing, to be honest, but essentially this is all the main female character. I honestly don't remember her name. She's she was a child during the Avengers movie where um, when New York gets attacked. So essentially, the two focal points in any Marvel movie are the attack on New York and then the blip. So this takes place originally, like, was it 2012? And when New York's being attacked, she happens to be saved by Hawkeye, but she also loses her father during the events, and she then lives. Her family's really rich, and so she grows up just with the mindset of I need to be strong. I need to protect my mom, and they already show her as a, I don't know, a 10-year-old. Well, she's 20. I think they said she was like 22, so she'd be like 12 or 13 or something like that. And she has all these awards for athleticism. She has like karate, archery, and some other stuff. And they show her a photo of her doing rock wall climbing. So she's already very athletic at that age. And then they fast forward to present time, and they have her as a national karate champion, or she has a medal from it, and she's also like 2-time state archery or something like that. So they still have her being really athletic there. And without, I guess, too many spoilers, essentially just her mom's getting remarried, and she's they're at a benefit on an auction that her mom's hosting, and secretly downstairs they're doing a black auction site. Excuse me, I got Yeah, sorry about that. For anyone who's watching, when you see me go off to the side, it's so I've gotten over a cold, but this I have this lingering really bad cough that's still sticking around. So that's why I'm trying not to cough on screen. And yeah, so I do apologize to that for the listeners as well. That's why I'm trying to mute it when I do. Um, but yeah, so there's a black auction going on, and there happens to be there was a couple things that were found from the Avengers compound that exploded through the movies, and it happened to have Hawkeye's old suit and sword from when he went during the blip when he kind of went rogue because he lost
Hmm.
his whole family and he became Ronin, where he just became the super vigilante who just murdered a bunch of underground or underground thugs and syndicates. So he was that was his couple years spent was uh, just murdering a bunch of crime lords. And so apparently that suit went for sale, and so did his sword. And essentially, there's a heist that happens. Some mafia members break in through the side of walls. They're looking for an item, and she happens to come across his uniform when he was Ronin. But all anyone knows is Ronin is this vigilante who exists. That's all. They don't know it's Hawkeye. And so she puts on the outfit, beats up a couple guys, and then goes on the run. And then here's where my problem comes in. She's this super athletic, like karate champ. Her fighting skills are really awkward in the beginning. They show her as semi competent, and then when she's running away later, they have her running like she's never ran before. I don't know. It's like she's really athletic, but like her stride, her gait, just though you'd think she'd run with some purpose, but she's running as if she like I don't running away in a horror movie or something like that. She's just kind of flailing and wobbling. I'm like, no, man, you are supposed to be super tough, super like. There's no way you don't know how to run like
Yeah,
appropriately.
you would be good at
Um,
this. If you're good at the other stuff, you'd be good at this.
and it would be subconscious. It wouldn't be like, oh, this crazy stuff just happened. No, like, you would still know how to do a proper like run, but it's just. And then she ends up fighting. Their villain, their main bad guy right now, currently is the tracksuit mafia,
Hmm.
which l- stereotypes galore. I'm like, it's probably lifted straight from an old comic because that's tracksuits are easy to draw. They're easy colors on the old comic panels, um, and they're super stereotypical of
True.
a Russian mob or some sort of uh, you know
Yeah.
post-Soviet blah 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 because that's the old joke is you live and die in a tracksuit. Uh, so that's so yeah, it's like they have the most generic bad guys chasing after her, and when they end up coming across her again, and then she all of a sudden doesn't know how to fight it anymore. She's like, yeah, it's like she can never knew how to handle herself. I'm like, wait a minute, what? By episode 3, she's like, I'm back to fighting really good again. I'm like, what the hell
Mm.
was that then? It was really just I was really disappointed. I don't expect her to be like super level kung fu or anything like that. It's just karate she knows, but she's also they have her as knowing gymnastics and stuff like that too, as some of the medals and stuff. So I'm like, all right, so she's super athletic. She should be able to fight at least a little bit better. She's a national champ or at least national contender. So um, it just was very awkward to see that fight scene play out, and essentially because she ends up making the news on a video footage saying like there's a robbery at this benefit auction, and they see this hooded ninja guy person running away, and so Hawkeye happens to be in New York with his kids, and he sees that footage, and he's just like, okay, I got to retrieve that. Someone is playing, try to pretend to be me. I have to go get my stuff back.
So the actress, I believe her name is Haley Steinfeld, and I think she's also a singer. But I believe she was in. Oh yeah, she was in True Grit, and then she was also in. The Bumblebee movie. I believe that was her. So she is. So is she gonna be the main Hawkeye?
Yeah, so that was one of the reasons why I watched this, because there was a lot of speculation before Hawkeye came out that everyone, like a lot of people were assuming that it was going to be his daughter who's going to be taking up the mantle, because in one of the other Avengers movies, there's scenes showing her him training her how to use a bow.
Right.
And then there's going to be like I forget, they have a Young Avengers like group, essentially like DC's Young Justice, where all the heroes have their young proteges essentially. And so that's what that a lot of people are feeling, that's the move they're going to make, is trying to make this next generation of children become the new heroes. At least that's speculation as a while ago. So yeah, she's looks like they're targeting her to be the next Hawkeye, and I personally don't really like her at all. She's the person who have her playing as her mom is really I kind of like some of the stuff the way they've portrayed her, because essentially she comes back home. The very first scene you see her in is she breaks into her campus and to a rooftop, and then apparently she has a bet to see whether or not she can make the bell in a bell tower ring from by firing across the campus yard. It's a really long shot. So, first shot she does, she has like a tennis ball at the end of the arrow, and she hits the outside, but it just goes like boom, nothing too bad. And then she puts some attachment on it, and then she is able to shoot and hit the rope that swings the bell, a dongle, and she makes it ring. And it's like, and so, it's showing that she has massive skill. But then, because of the way the arrow hits, making the bell ring, apparently it's enough to cause a resonance to completely break the bell, having it crash down through the bell tower. And yeah, I'm like, no, I don't think that's how it works.
Okay.
It's not an old historical building. It's literally just, well, it's an old bell, but it's if it had a rope attached to it, that means they're still ringing the damn thing. And then her mom comes, you see her coming home to New York, and her mom's like, she's not happy. She's like, I'm not happy with having to replace the clock tower. And she's like, well, it was actually a bell tower. And she's like, the dean informed me that not only is it's like it, the overachiever that you are, you not only were able to destroy the bell tower, but it had a clock in it, and you were able to look at that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, she brings down the whole damn thing. And her mom's just like, and I have to, because they're loaded. So like, I'm going to be replacing the whole thing. But she does make a comment saying that there's two kind of people who think they're invincible: young people and rich people, and you grew up both, and so
that's pretty good.
But because the mom married into the money, it was the husband who was that's his family money.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I like you so far, but she's marrying the bad guy, or like secretly the bad guy or whatever. So we'll see how that plays out.
Okay, so where does what's his name? I forget the actor's name. Let me find it. Jeremy Renner. Where does he come in?
All right, which one's Jeremy Renner?
He's the guy in the thing.
I haven't seen the guy yet. It's well,
Jeremy Renner is Hawkeye.
What?
And Jeremy Renner is Hawkeye.
Oh, Hawkeye. I'm sorry. I was thinking the bad guy right off the bat, because Jeremy Renner comes in, meets her, and is essentially, he doesn't tell her who I'm Ronin. Everyone knows who Clint is. Everyone knows that, because they know Clint as being Hawkeye, one of the Avengers, and in fact, when they first show him in New York, it's him seeing like Rogers the musical, because the Captain America musical.
Oh yeah.
And
okay.
And so it's you see these actors on Broadway in T-shirts that look like the colors of the Avengers, and while New York's being attacked, doing the whole scene but in a musical number, and they're like, Hulk, what do you say, or something like that. And he's like, smash, 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 it's yeah, and it's pretty funny. It's dumb, but it's funny. He ends up, but apparently, Hawkeye now has a hearing aid. He's hearing impaired.
Okay.
And at one point, someone asks about it, and they do a hard cut to a bunch of scenes throughout the Avengers films, just like him breaking through a window, one explosion here, the entire Avengers compound just exploding. He's like, it's hard to say.
That's a pretty good joke. Yeah. I mean, it's too bad, but it's also a pretty good joke.
it's the realisticness of it all, right? Because it's like, yeah, over time you are going to suffer some physical damage. In the comics, I know one of the comic series, he did lose hearing because he had to bite down on a sonic arrow.
Ugh,
Uh, so
wow,
he had to bite down on it to help get himself out of a situation, and that the frequency like
messed it
damaged
up.
his ear.
I mean, like if you, it's a really good way to get rid of quote get rid of the old actors, or to kind of move them on with naturally
To
like
retire them without murdering them.
to
Yes.
retire them. That's the right word, to retire them, because like with some of them you can't really do that because the story doesn't really fit. Like Thor, you're not going to be able to do that for a while yet because well the actor's young enough. But like in Black Widow, there's a scene kind of 2/3 of the way through the movie where her sister says to her, the god doesn't have to take an ibuprofen after his battles, and it's kind of like yeah, so like Black Widow and Hawkeye are both regular humans who just happen to be, super assassins, but they're still regular people. So they are going to age and they won't be able to do the job anymore. So, I mean, for them at least, there's room for story wise, there's room to get them moved on and get somebody else in that spot.
Yeah. The That was the whole bit, right? They're just normal people. It's why like Batman's the most vulnerable, theoretically, person out of the the DC crew because he's the only real human. While he relies on money and gadgetry and his wits, of course. But then when you got Marvel, you had, well, Tony Stark was human, but he also had billions of dollars of tech behind him, and a super suit.
Yeah.
So that that really helps. While you can't, a bullet can't take him out. But technically, despite Captain America was taken out by a bullet in the comics, that's how he dies during the whole Civil War. I'm pretty sure that's how they ended up ending that. Spoilers, I guess. Sorry, guys. Don't worry, he probably comes back. I don't remember how it ends.
I think there's been two Civil Wars now. I think there's one that
uh,
was in the mid 2000s, and then there was another one I believe, but I don't remember completely.
Yeah, well, what happens is they had the sniper aim, like he's arrested because he gives up. He's part of the resistance, for he's against registrations for for mutants and all that, and then he gives himself up. There's a marksman. Instead of shooting him, he has a laser dot sight that aimed on the guard next to him, and of course he sees that, so he jumps in front and he knocks the guard out of the way and he gets shot and killed that way. And then that's after that Tony's on the run, and then yeah,
I,
that's a
I,
whole bit. But
I,
the thing is, a bullet can kill Captain America. He's just also able to run at like 30-40 miles an hour.
I remember
So
that when that happened because I wasn't reading comics or anything at that time, but I think the White House made a comment, or scolded Marvel for killing Captain America. I mean, it's like he wasn't going to stay dead, but he was going to be dead for a little while, and the White House or the government at large was like, "Don't do that. That's Captain America. You can't do that." Um, so that was just kind of a funny little thing,
yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
but I think that was during the
Yeah.
Obama administration. But besides that, is like otherwise, um, it, do you like the show? Are you going to keep watching it?
It's only 5 episodes. I'm already 3/5 the way through. I heard that some people were like, there was a big surprise ending at the end of episode 5. The way I look at it is it's like the length of two movies because each one of these is like 50 to 60 minutes long.
Yeah.
Um, so
Okay.
at the end of episode 5, there's a reveal that people are like, ooh, So I'm like, all right, I'm kind of curious. Honestly, I don't really. Um, by episode 3, there's some good action and stuff like that. There's some just weird things about this show that stop me from really liking it. I don't know. It's the way they portray the new female lead. She's entitled and she's like bratty, I guess is the best way to put it. She's like,
Mm,
she just kind of forces herself as, yeah, I'm a super archer, so I'm just gonna be like you, and that's how it is. And he's just like, he just kind of rolls with it. He's just like, okay, this is it. I mean, though you do get to see Hawkeye in a LARPing scene. So if you want to see what that's all about,
That's pretty funny.
yeah, it's uh, honestly, it has its moments. It's lighthearted. It's fun. Episode 3 had a lot of Christmas music been playing because this is all literally taking place um, within within 2 weeks before Christmas or something, or a week before Christmas.
I was wondering
Uh,
what all the, because this image I've pulled up has a dog in a Christmas hat, and then it has lights, a couple lights in the background on the bridge. So it all takes place at Christmas.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So because Clint is now, like he was originally there with his family, or his kids. His wife was back at home, but his two sons and his daughter, and they watched that, the musical, and they're all going to go back home. But this thing happened, so he sent them on the way. But he's like, "Don't worry, like we'll do all the Christmas stuff we want." And then as the days, his days are expanding. He's like, "Yeah, we missed making gingerbread. He missed making gingerbread with them. He missed." Um, He's going to miss the movie marathon, Christmas that one of the other kids suggested. So he's missing all the family stuff that he wanted to do to begin with.
Yeah.
Uh, which is, but at the same time, they understand he's a hero and they understand that he needs to do what needs to be done. So they, but so it's interesting that way. It's the being married to the job, kind of situation.
Yeah.
And so the hope, your hope for him is he still has like a couple days left before Christmas, so he'll make it in time for Christmas because that's what you want as a viewer. You want him to have a happy Christmas with his family, and yeah, the dog doesn't really play much of a role other than being it's there in the very beginning just to help out a little bit, and then a slight story point. I'm not sure if it's going to play anything else later on, but yeah, it's the main villain they got going on. They have her as the leader of the tracksuit mafia is she is deaf, and she's also missing I don't think it's her full leg, but it's from her shin down, like her knee down.
Mm.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah. So it's like
Okay.
she can still use a prosthetic without having to have, like, that's kind of like the preferable way to have a prosthetic is below the knee, you're missing legs, so you can just put a boot on essentially.
Yeah, well, she doesn't hide it, is kind of how it works. And uh she I'm not sure um what her ethnicity is, but she's not Caucasian. So they have her as a minority, and someone with physical challenges. But also they show a little bit of her past and how she's able to overcome those obstacles. Uh, she's able to learn how to read lips. She does martial arts herself. She realizes that she can compete with other people, and essentially they lean into the concept of, because she doesn't hear, she focuses on what she can see, and so therefore she can see the minor movements in people, and she can kind of read people better that way,
Mm.
which makes her a better fighter. And also, if people notice her prosthetic, they instinctively down their guard a little bit, or they have some reservation, but then she just doesn't hold back. So they have someone like that to become the head of the tracksuit mafia, but then they also imply that there is someone above her as well. So, but for now, that that's really all I've seen by the end of episode 3. Yeah, it's all right. I mean, if you like, it has some funny moments. It's probably the weakest of the Marvel TV shows, I think, so far.
Yeah.
Not saying it's bad, but it's not. It's just, in my opinion, it's. I think they've all kind of been going steadily downhill.
That's kind of what I noticed is that Mandalorian was really good, and WandaVision was really good but not as good, and so on and so forth. Every single one is just a little bit worse than the last one. I did think that Loki was better than what was one before it with
Falcon Winter Soldier.
the Falcon Winter Soldier. I thought it was a little bit better just because it's more along my interests. But objectively, looking at it just purely objectively, I think, yeah, Falcon Winter Soldier was a little bit better as far as story and production value. So it does
Yeah,
seem
it's
like
kind
they're
of a
going
toss
that
up
direction.
between Winter Soldier and Loki, or Falcon, Winter Soldier, and Loki. It's they they're both a little bit of a letdown. As a They weren't bad. Neither is this. This isn't bad, but honestly, I don't look forward to her taking the mantle. Just the way they portray her, because I know it's just this. I wish there was more of a an understudy or like a sidekick thing, but this is more like just randomly thrusted together, and it's like she really wants to be it, and she's been training, so she gets to be it, right? And I'm like, I hope not. But it probably won't. She's probably going to be the next Hawkeye. I mean, I'd be amazed if they didn't pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, she's been kind of been being groomed. It seems like she's had a pretty dang good career so far with some of the movies that she's been in, but I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so moving over to the kind of the games we've played, because this is also a video game podcast. Um, I have been playing Halo Infinite, the campaign. Now, the multiplayer has been out for several weeks now, I believe. People have been getting in on that, but I just avoided that. I know I'm just going to get trash canned in multiplayer, and I kind of wanted the experience to be fresh whenever I did go into the campaign. I didn't want to have like, I didn't want to already know what the weapons were like. I wanted to just kind of experience it all together. But I started playing the campaign earlier, I guess sometime last week. It's pretty good. It's actually really good. I've actually been enjoying it a lot. So basically, the campaign starts out with a group called the Banished. I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. So I have not played a whole lot of Halo. I've played some of the campaign of 1, 2, and 3, and I think I touched ODST for about 5 minutes one time. But besides that, I haven't played Reach or Halo 4 or Halo 5. Um, so that's a little bit of my history. So I don't really know what the hell I'm talking about, is what I'm trying to say. But basically, the campaign begins with some people called the Banished, and they have destroyed the UNSC fleet. And Master Chief is fighting their leader, and then he gets kicked out into space, and that's basically where the campaign begins. Is he's rescued by a lone a lone Pelican pilot that is about to die in his ship, but he manages to rescue Master Chief. And then so your first mission is to like go back in to this mothership, um, and take out some bad guys, and it's all happening above Halo. So right after you take that ship out, you crash land. Well, I think you fly down or whatever onto Halo, and that's where like the real game begins. So like the first mission of the game is very cookie cutter. You know, they put you at the beginning, like they do the cutscenes and they put you at the beginning of the mission, and you go through the rooms and you kill all the guys, and then and that's kind of it. But after that, once you get onto Halo, it becomes very much more open world. Uh, and they explain to you, okay, so there's bases, and you got to take out these bases, and you have like main story missions, and you have sub story missions, and you can do as much as you want or as little as you want. Um, and once it got to that point, I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. Because as it started, I was like, okay, this is kind of just standard, shoot 'em like standard first person shooter stuff. But once it got into the open world, it became very addictive. I found myself playing, going like, okay, I'm gonna play this for an hour, and end up playing like 2.5, hours, and just sort of having a hard time putting it down because it was like kind of one thing after another. Um, but it's the shooting is good. The story is pretty good so far. I've only probably played, I don't know, I probably played about 8 or 10 hours of it. The story's pretty good so far. It's nothing amazing. I actually kind of find the main bad guy to be very, very standard. He's just the bad. He's just the bad dude. And he doesn't have anything really complex with him going on. He doesn't seem very smart or diabolical. He just seems like the tough bad guy. Um, but otherwise, like it feels like Halo. It definitely feels like the Halo that I remember playing. I played a lot of three, at least a lot of three multiplayer, and it feels like a an advanced version of that. And I'm very pleased, honestly.
All right. Uh, yeah, it's I'm really interested in playing it. This is so I was big into Halo for a long time. Not so much the multiplayer because I'm terrible at multiplayer. Uh, I would play with my buddies, but that's really about it.
One
So
of
I
us,
play.
one of us, one of us.
I always liked Halo because it was a multiplayer campaign. So
Yeah.
even Halo One, that gave you like it was always funny because you wake up from stasis and then you look over and there's an empty pod. Well, if you play two players, you're both playing as John 117, like, which is silly.
Yeah.
You have a clone. So Halo uh 1, 2, and 3 are solid. um well, 2 campaign was disappointingly short, but then 3, of course, finishing the fight. ODST was the only one that you couldn't play multiplayer, and that is probably my favorite Halo game, hands down.
I've heard
It's
a lot of people say that ODST secretly is actually the best Halo game.
it's a they tell an awesome story, they really do. So that one, it has like half the cast of Firefly in it.
Oh
uh
yeah, it
and
does.
it's just a really good story. It's really fun. It's a lot more tense. It's a little less. You have your action moments, but it's also more subdued because you're walking around, like by yourself through the city, and it's more of a almost like a stealth kind of feel because it's before I forget, it's in South, or it's in Africa, and it's before in Halo 3 or something like that. You end up landing there, so it's like you're the party beforehand as and it's a really good story. I just, if anyone gets a chance to, I honestly think it's a really good job of making you feel the tension because you're just a normal person. You're not a super soldier. You're not a Spartan, essentially, because Spartans are humans that went through genetic manipulation and enhancements. Um, and yeah, I actually was huge into the series. I own like the first handful of books. Um,
Yeah,
and I stopped playing when Reach came out because it was really hard for me to play something that, like, I already know how the story ends. It's called The Fall of Reach. There's a book. The book came out way before it,
yeah.
and I didn't own an Xbox series, or not series, the Xbox what was the current, the current one's the series, but the last Xbox generation. I own a 360, and then I went through 7 360s, and I had 5 fail on me. Um, and so after that, I stopped buying Xbox. I was, yeah. Um,
Kind
I
of
just went, no,
poisoned the well at that point.
yeah. Plus, at the time when the Xbox, the new next generation that had come out, I'm like, well, PlayStation allows me to do. I was overseas, and so it was region free games. Well, I had to then either do all my games digitally or have them shipped over from the US, or buy like Hong Kong or something like that where they were not region locked. So it made it a lot more difficult. Um, so I was like, I'm not even going to bother. PlayStation, at least at the time, let me just, I can buy it whatever. And most of the time, if even if it was Korea or Japan, they would still have, it'd still be all in English. So it didn't matter. Uh, so I missed Halo 4 altogether. And so they had come out with the Master Chief collection and stuff like that, but it's just for me, playing was always the greatest thing for Halo with your buddies. Halo 3 was awesome because you play four players through the campaign. So I'm really curious about this one because of the open level structure. um yeah.
Like unfortunately, like you probably we're gonna get to this, but the co-op is not available upon or was not available upon launch. I think it's still not available. I don't know how long it's going to be, but they are planning to get it in there. But yeah, like it's Halo co-op is definitely one of the things that has made it legendary.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not chomping at the bit. I mean, what I would like to do is I'd like to fill in at least play Halo 4. And
Oh,
was there 5? I don't even remember if this is, yeah, because there was Halo 5 because this is the third. This is 6 technically, if I remember correctly.
yeah.
It's been so I haven't played 4 or 5, and so when you mention about the new enemies and stuff like that, I'm like, I have no idea. Um, the Arbiter was the last, and the Flood, and like I'm old school when it comes to Halo, so yeah. But I've heard nothing but good things about this one. As far as that, that open world grind loop, it sounds like it does a lot better than later on. We'll mention the game, one of the games I've been playing, and yeah, it's cool that you're having such a good time with it. Though I really want them to come out with the campaign multiplayer because I think it'll just make it that much more fun.
Yeah, I don't know when they're gonna do that, but if they do, just let me know and I'll play some of the campaign with you. I started playing
Sweet.
it on normal. I kind of wish I'd started on heroic, but I wanted to get through a good chunk of it, and I wanted to play it, what they consider standard difficulty. Um, it's not too hard so far. I think it's gotten a little bit more difficult, but it's pretty addictive. Like the bases are all pretty. I mean, they're of a kind, but they feel different. Each one kind of feels different. There's little ones, there's big ones, there's like walled compounds, and this is like stuff that's just out in the open world. So it's pretty good. I'll say that some of the weapons I've been a little bit, I wouldn't say disappointed with, but slow to come around to. Um, I'm slowly figuring out which ones are better and which ones are worse. Uh, a lot of like the brute weapons are they they're capable, but they're not like what you prefer. So a lot of the time, I'll end up using some of the same weapons, like the Covenant, basically the Covenant
The
rifle,
carbine.
the carbine. That's what I'm trying to think of. The carbine is great. I always go for that, and then uh, the human equivalent of the carbine. Um,
Uh, the BMR or battle rifle. The something
yeah,
R.
the battle
I think it's
rifle.
BMR. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that one, that is like my go-to weapon. But a lot of times you'll run out of ammo for those, and you'll have to pick up something else. And whenever you have to do that, it's kind of like, this kind of sucks. And you just kind of survive and make do until you can get a better weapon. So some of that, I feel like, I don't know, could have been balanced out because like those weapons, like the carbine and the battle rifle, are kind of like they always work pretty well, or 90% of the time, they're the one that you want to use, and only sometimes do you really need to pick up a different kind of weapon. I feel like they could have done a better job making you like making enemies weak to different guns and making it so that you get your ass kicked. And maybe this is what happens in heroic and legendary, but getting your like you get your ass kicked and then you go, why did that not work? Oh, let me try a different gun. Oh, it's because this enemy is weak to this other gun. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I'm traditionally I've always played the games on legendary just because there was always um you would unlock stuff as well, but
yeah,
it was icons for your multiplayer thing, and uh yeah, my wife and I we played through all of them, or 1, 2, and 3 on legendary, and that was always fun. It was always super challenging, but not overbearing. It was always doable. I mean, so I think that normal would probably be pretty easy because, or for someone who is experienced with first person shooters.
yeah,
Yeah, the in this case, I can see going with the an assault rifle type weapon would be most preferred. Um,
yeah,
and my wife is always more of a range, so she always liked the sniper rifle. I would always do a shotgun sword combo in the original games, but that's because they were the less of an open map. It would just, in campaign, it was more, you can get close quarters a lot easier. So unless certain levels, you of course switch to something else for certain situations. But yeah, the I'm curious. Have you played any of the multiplayer then afterwards? Since you started playing the campaign, but you haven't touched any of it after that.
No, I've just been grinding on the campaign. Um,
Okay. If you do want to try playing the multiplayer, let me know.
yeah, dude, we should
I'll
totally
download
fucking
it
play
for that.
that. Yeah, we should totally fucking play it. A couple more things. The grapple shot. This game pretty much opens you up immediately with a grapple shot, which I don't think, to my memory,
I,
were was in
I think
three.
it's new. I think
Yeah.
it's the new. It's. I thought it was new to this. So yeah.
Well, it's
How is it?
it's pretty cool. I would say that it's handy to use sometimes, but you don't really need it, especially not in combat. Sometimes you do need it whenever you're kind of traversing around, but for the most part, you don't really need it. But it's the first of several. I think there's going to be at least four different, like they call them, they just call them equipment, and they map them to your D-pad, uh, and so like the grapple shot's one. There's like a force field that you can throw down, like a shield you can throw down. That's another one. There's like a detection beacon that you can throw down, and sometimes there are invisible enemies, and that is super important for whenever you have to fight an invisible enemy. Um, but I don't know, like I just kind of get the feeling as I'm going through some of these things that's like I feel like I need to be playing this on heroic to get to the point where I need to use these different pieces of equipment. But they're pretty cool so far. They're not annoying, and they don't force you to use them in a ham-fisted way. So like I appreciate that. Um,
Will it not let you switch mid level, or to up the difficulty?
I looked and I couldn't find it. I didn't spend a whole lot of time looking or look up if there's a way to do it, but I couldn't I couldn't find it. So
Okay,
I'll,
I can't remember if that's how the old ones were because it's been so long. I just know some games will let you, other games won't, or at least they won't give you credit for like trophies or something like that. Be like, no, so you have to start from the beginning on the hard, whatever highest difficulty. Um, so I know, like Back for Blood, for example, you can't up the difficulty. You have to start from the very beginning at the highest difficulty, and then at any time you can dumb it down. But you can't just be like halfway through the campaign and be like, all right, let me crank it up higher. It won't let you do that. It'll make you start all the way. If you haven't done anything harder, you have to start all the way from the beginning.
yeah.
So
Um, yeah, so I kind of figured that's probably what they're going for somehow, but I'll look it up and see if that is in fact true. And if it's not, then I think I'm just going to go through the rest of the campaign on normal because I don't really feel like. I mean, the first level was pretty fun, but I don't really feel like doing it over again or the stuff I've already done. Um,
yeah,
the 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 characters in it, there's a lot of like patting you on the back as you do a lot of this stuff. I mean, a lot like you'll go and free soldiers and stuff who are POWs, and once you free them and they help you fight a little bit, they're like, "Man, Master Chief, you're the one who's gonna save us all." Or like, "That was a great job, Master Chief." And it's like, okay, okay, you don't have to like, I don't know, ham it up quite so much. But I guess it's a game for kids too, and that's what they want. Um, the so there is a Cortana replacement because Cortana is not around really in this game for story reasons. But the Cortana replacement is she's a hologram that is they just call her weapon. I don't know why. I don't know what that's about, but her name is just weapon. Um, and she is a kindergarten teacher. Like that is her demeanor. She is just like she is like very, I mean, she's not sexualized, but she's just very cute and peppy, and she's always like I'm gonna work on that right now. And then you'll plug her into a computer and she's like, and there, it's done. And then she's like, should we be getting on now? And it's just, I mean, she does a lot more than that. That is very much like, okay, I am in kindergarten and this is my teacher. She is there to, cheer you on and help you out in whatever way she can. Uh, and I'm just like, okay, it's a little strange. It's a little bit a little bit strange, to be honest. I don't know what they're going for with that, but those are a couple things that I noticed. And just the last thing I'll say is that, man, it's so great to have Game Pass. Like this game, I couldn't believe this game was out on Game Pass. I looked it up a couple days before it came out, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy it because I was budgeting to buy this game, $60 or whatever in December. That was part of my December games budget, and then I found out that it was just going to be on Game Pass, and I was like, "You're putting the whole campaign out on Game Pass." Thank God. It is like, I just it's so good. It's a really good campaign. It's a really high quality game, and it's just fucking out there for. I could have just signed up for Game Pass this month, for $10 and been playing this game. So definitely singing Xbox's praises. I used to shit on them a lot, but it's kind of hard to these days. It's pretty good.
Yeah, after the uh, so essentially last generation, Xbox had to do a lot of backpedaling, and they lost a lot of support. And most of the generation, they were always behind. But I think about halfway through, they started doing the initiatives of things like Game Pass, and they started making a lot of the right plays, which made them end very strong. Still behind PlayStation, but they came into this generation just swinging. Game Pass is a really good value for what it is, and especially if you own, it really does make it that much easier to be like, well, I want to try to own a Series S or Series X, depending on what your lifestyle is. But like now I can have even more games on my console, and that way, if you want to play in front of your TV opposed to in front of your computer screen, monitor, it makes it so much easier. And they offer quite a bit of selection, and the fact that they have like the base level of EA Access or EA Origin, or I forget what it's called, EA subscription thing. I think it might be EA Access, and that's how I played with my buddy. We were playing oh, was it not It Takes Two, but the same developers. It was the
A Way Out.
oh shoot. Oh wait, yeah, Way Out. That was it. Yeah, so we played that. Thanks to having access to those EA games. It's they have so much value for what you're paying for, and it does justify. You get the online, so it used to be the subscription was one thing, but now you're getting just the whole thing bundled, and that's the right thing to do. They've made a lot of the good moves. So having all their first party stuff come out, both PC and the consoles, yeah, that's totally the right move, and I'm glad you're having a good time with it. Honestly, this game, I think it's $15 a month is for Game Pass Ultimate, so
Yeah.
you get it both on PC and console. So if you think about that, a $60 game, I mean that's 4 months technically. You buy one $60 game, that's 4 months, and if you're doing it only for the campaign, but it's a lot cheaper that way to experiment and be like, yeah, I'm having a good time with this game. I'm done with it. Unless if it's one of those rare games that the campaign is infinitely replayable, or you just absolutely love it to no end. I mean, for the most part, you got your fill, and you won't need to play it again for a while. But if you do want to, you still have Game Pass. You can still just always dabble in it. And if it's good enough for you to own a physical copy, they still let you buy it. They have that access to it, and they usually give you a discount for buying the games. So
Yeah.
that's yeah, totally. Seeing those prices, I got your back on that one for
It's
sure.
it's definitely getting harder and harder for to justify kind of what Sony's doing. I mean, they have exclusives, but a lot of them are timed. So if you're willing to wait, then you will play those eventually. We're kind of in a position where we probably won't want to do that in the future at some point. But as a regular person, it's like I'll just wait, and then I'll be able to get it for super cheap. But that's kind of the world we live in. So that's all I had to say about Halo Infinite. You had been playing a little bit more of Far Cry 6, right?
Yeah. So last time I mentioned, I had gotten Far Cry 6 from. I've been playing on the PS4. I got it from my local library, and it was actually a couple of libraries are connected. So I just, one of the other libraries got it. I put myself on a queue, and eventually, they mailed it over to my branch, and they're like, "Yeah, it's in." So I'm like, "Sweet." I was playing a bit of it. I like the game enough. It's pretty fun. Like I mentioned before, I played up to Far Cry 4. I skipped 5 and a New Dawn, which is the spinoff from 5. Um, so the game overall, it's pretty fun. I just there's just a couple things that really irritate me about it, and like I was disappointed, I guess,
Okay,
because
yeah.
it's just some quality of life things. Um, let's see here. One of which is the fact that when you load the game, every time you load the damn game, it makes you what they instead of going straight to the start screen, you always get the same splash screens, right? Like Ubisoft and this that. That's fine. But then it goes into an opening cinematic. It plays so it literally has this opening cinematic play out where it's just like you see like the island and like kind of imagery about what the revolution stuff is. And so every time you do, you have to then press and hold circle, and then it has a circle loads up and it goes, and we're gonna skip it now. I'm like, really? Like every single time. And then every
Mm,
single time you get to the start screen, you hear the same really bad robot voice, but that says, you know, like press cross button to continue. And it's on the same vein as the old Windows, uh, type to talk function. It's like when you used to write, like you can write like, go jump up and down, ha ha ha, and it'd be just like go jump up and down, ha 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 ha, like that really robotic
mm.
voice.
That's
It
yeah, pretty low
it
production
it's
value there.
very much like that.
Mm.
Um, it's like that adjacent, and uh, you were able to you're able to turn that off. So it's there for anyone who's has a slight visual impairment, because it'll read off all the menu items for you. And then during any given time in the when you're in the menu in game, you could just hit like I think it's like the left trigger button or something like that, and then it'll engage it automatically. But since I have it turned off, you don't need to say that every single time. It's in my save settings. It's in my settings menu. But both those things in the startup, it's just slight annoyances every single bit. Um, and the game. I think the biggest thing that game suffers is the gameplay loop that I really liked. I'm kind of broken in the brain where I like the Ubisoft checkbox. Like you got all these things to do, and I like to
You
do those checkbox things, and like
you're who that's for.
yeah, pretty much. It's a sickness, and I admit to it. First step is admittance.
It's a
So
disease.
the no, it's just that's Far Cry 3, Far Cry Blood Dragon, 4. They did that really well. It's for me. It was okay. A lot of people hated the climbing the stupid towers, which yeah, I did hate them, but it'd give me an objective. I'd be like, okay, I got to go to the towers. Once you climb the tower, you light up the area of the map, and then you have more focal points. Plus, when you got to the top of the towers, it always gave you a weapon.
it's
So therefore, if you wanted,
it's a good idea. Like it's I mean, we all forget what that was like when we first started playing games that would let you do that. It's like, oh, this is cool. They just probably kind of used it a little too much.
oh, they hands down did. I mean, Assassin's Creed, this that they did it with so many games, and it became like it's a running joke. And that, I understand why, but like because then I'd pop open the map, I'd get a slight understanding where it was, and I'd have a decent armament right off the bat. But now they give you almost too many other small things to do, and I think this game would probably where it really shines, which I never got a chance to check out, was if you play multiplayer. uh, because Far Cry 3, no, 4, I'm sorry. Far Cry 4 had multiplayer. I think 3 had something like a small bit or something like that, but Far Cry 4 had a decent multiplayer. the thing is, I don't think it was campaign oriented. I think it was only like exploring the world. Or you could do the campaign for one person, but the other person wouldn't get credit for it. It was something broken like that. It wasn't fully enabled. But some buddies of mine did take turns playing, and I played. I think I platinumed Far Cry 4. Um, I genuinely like that game a lot. And the way the map is set up and stuff like that. Far Cry 6, I played it quite a bit more, but I ended up there's just so much to do with it. And that game save is like, or the actual hard drive space was massive. It's like 90 gigs or something like that. Um, so in fact, I ended up having to move off of my main hard drive onto my secondary, my external USB hard drive, and now I have like 600 megabytes left, and
Wow.
that's it.
Whoa, that's
uh,
getting close.
well, I have a bunch of games on that thing. It's a 2 terabyte little external, but it's one of those things that like, well, I had to return the game back to the library. I never got to finish it. I made quite a lot of progress, and there's a part of me that would like to finish it, but so I just put my name back on the queue, and eventually Far Cry 6 will come back to me, and hopefully maybe I'll get around to it. But yeah, it's just there was it just was missing some odd things here and there, and it just didn't quite feel right, I guess is the way to put it. So overall, fun game, but just a little disappointing for me.
Oh,
And I
it's
didn't
too
quite
bad.
have that fun game hook that like that compelled me. It was just more, I don't know, slight busy work. Um, it's
Yeah,
better. It was more fulfilling than playing a cell phone game. Um, and it was easy enough for me to pick up and put down while I watch my child and be like, okay, I can put this down now. I need to feed you now.
yeah, yeah.
Baby. So
I think Vinny Caravella's talked about this before, but like these kind of games, like EA games and Ubisoft games, they're really made for the guy that buys one or two games a year and plays one or two games a year. They're just your time waster. You can play this for 80 or 100 hours, and then maybe you'll have gotten every little tiny thing. They're kind of just checkbox games, and that's fine. There's totally some satisfaction that you can get out of that. So I think it's fine for those kind of games to exist. They're just usually not for me.
yeah, totally. So yeah, when I had to return this one back to the library, I went ahead and looked through their list of games, and I found out that they had the new Guardians of the Galaxy there. So I went ahead and checked that out.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, it's like, dude, the library is a good way to go if you have consoles. Seriously, check them out. Granted, not every library is, everyone's going to be a little bit different. The one directly in my town is not the greatest, but they have some pretty decent things nonetheless. But then, like I said, I go to the next town over, and that one is the one that's connected to a bunch of libraries, and therefore I'm able to get that from there. So I recommend, seriously, check out your library, see if what they can do. Um, and with Guardians, uh, it's for I'm playing this on, of course, on the PS4. Uh, this is Square Enix and Eidos, Montreal, I believe it is. They're the ones who are going through it, and it's pretty good. The it's a yeah, it's a kind of a semi-action adventure like RPG ish. Has some leveling up mechanics, but it's mostly just an action game with a lot of story. Um, in fact, the actual combat itself is the weaker part of it. It's mostly just watching the interactions of the characters, and so this takes place in a different like alternate universe. So it's not the Guardians from the movies. Um, so it's a different. They have like Peter Quill, Star Lord. He has a different background. It's not. His mom, in the movies, his mom has cancer. This one, nope, completely different. His mom's, so his dad's not in this one, his dad is a king of a planet. Um, so he comes from royalty, essentially, is how that works. And they all, it's almost it throws you right into it, and then you're slowly piecing together the how they met or why they're together type of deal. But it's really hard to take place like the timeline of how long they've been together because Drax is talking as if like Gamora just joined up with them, but then you're listening to some of the Gamora stuff and you're like, wait, it sounds like she's been with them for a little longer than Drax is indicating. So it's kind of weird. It's like, but he's now finally accepting the rest of the crew. Drax is like, the rodents and the assassin are, maybe my thoughts on them were incorrect, and stuff like that. And it's just like, so I'm like, wait, how long have you guys been together? It's really hard to piece. But you are finding things like, Quill joined the Ravagers after he met Yondu in a prison colony, essentially. So
Hmm.
it's a bit different as far as those type of stories go, and it's so focused on the narrative portion. I'm finding that to be the most interesting thing. Being like coming from Square, I guess the best way to explain it makes it feel like it's like a Life is Strange or something like that, but like more video gamey. You actually have combat in it. Um, but Life is Strange being just a straight like story driven type of thing, and that's what I end up playing this for. Is I'm playing it more for the story than because so far the combat. I'm like chapter 6 or something like into it. I'm not sure how many chapters there are, and I feel like I'm maybe halfway through the game. I don't know. It's just I'm not really 100% sure, but so far the enemies I'm fighting are the most generic ass. Like they are the boring cookie cutter type monsters. They might as well just be slimes from like Dragon Quest or something.
How far in it are
Uh,
you?
what?
How far in it are you?
Well, chapter 6, which I'm going to say like I'm maybe, I don't know, 8 hours in, I guess, or
Okay.
something.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
And still
yeah.
kind of
So
easy enemies.
yeah,
Kind of
so it's
standard
like
enemies.
the first couple spots I've been to. One of the enemies was just this round spiky ball. Essentially it's like a roly poly with spikes essentially. And then the next place it was a gelatinous cube with
Hmm.
a nougaty core center that had spikes shot out of it. And then there was like a four-legged creature that had the head of like one of the monsters from Strange Things. It like the little shut mouth that spread open.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
so it was kind of like later on you just have I've recently run into just generic Nova Corps soldiers. Uh, you know, so it's just like yeah, they're as far as that goes, or as far as combat, it's nothing special. I mean, it's kind of neat. You can do some power moves, or like you can control your I guess I was surprised. I didn't really know how the combat was supposed to work. I thought I'd be able to switch between all 5 characters, but no, you are strictly Peter Quill. You are just playing as him.
okay.
Now you can give commands to the other members, so they'll fight on their own, and then you can tell them to when their abilities on cooldown. So when it's active, you can then have them actively do whatever ability they have, and you can level them up. So then you can unlock 3 or 4 abilities with each character. Um, yeah, I think it's 4 because what you do is you hold you hold the left bumper or left or L1, and then it pulls up a menu, and then you have a face button for each one of your 4 partners, and then when you hit that, it'll appear with another 4 buttons. If you have depending on which ones you have unlocked, and then you can use their skills. So Groot has the ability to in an area pin down everyone. So then they're immobile, and you can dogpile on that person. Um, Rocket does like a grenade or something like that, or a rocket launcher or something. He does an AOE blast. Um, Drax has the ability to kind of help attack a single target to help give them a stun ability. So you can then start or stagger. I'm sorry. You can help stagger them, and which then will open up a weakness. So you can kind of swap between them, and if there's only one enemy, then you chain your commands properly, and you can really start doing some massive damage. But honestly, I haven't found it that difficult.
Yeah,
I'm just playing on normal difficulty.
I heard as the game goes on that you do need to use more of like it becomes very specific the situations you're in that you need to use your teammates in specific ways, and I thought that was kind of cool that a game that does that is gonna be more interesting.
Yeah, it's you also have certain enemies that you can defeat normally, but they have like a certain elemental weakness or something like that. So if you play it correctly, you'll be able to really like open them up to damage if you're paying attention. But if you don't pay attention, you're just going to be fighting them normally. It's going to take you much longer to handle that. Or so yeah, honestly, it's just it's what I like. They have a lot of accessibility for combat wise. You have your like easy, normal, hard difficulty, but then you have a custom difficulty, which then starts breaking things down real in depth. I went ahead and took a look at it. You can change the difficulty or the amount of damage you do, the amount of damage you take, the amount of how fast cooldowns affect. So you can make the cooldowns quicker or longer. So if you want to make it more challenging for yourself, you can do that. When you're trying to use your teammates' abilities, time will slow down. So, but it'll still be moving forward. You can actually make it to a full stop, or you can try to have it. I'm pretty sure you can set it so it's just real time movement. So you're trying to use your ability while no time slowing is at all. And yeah, there's a few other things like you can tweak a bunch of stuff like that, which I thought was really nice. So one of the things you can do is you can actually there's quick time events in this game. I fucking hate quick time events because it's one of those things that it's usually they'll happen in the actual exploring, but so you're like walking around, you jump to one ledge to another, and also no, you didn't quite make the jump or the floor gave out, and then it's like, all right, normally if it's a mash button to succeed, that's fine, and that's the first handful of those. Then all of a sudden, I made this one jump, and then I hit it, like the popped up, and I went to hit it. I start smashing, and all of a sudden it's just like, nope, I fell to my death. I'm like, what the hell? All right, I did it again, fell to my death. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, and then I looked really close. I let it go for a little bit, and what happens is there is a circle that's then closes. And then there was a highlighted circle, so you had to wait until it got closer to the center, and then there's a green section, and you're supposed to hit it. It's a timed press. I'm like, motherfucker. There's no indication, nothing that tells you about this, unless if maybe you read the separate tutorials.
Yeah.
But there's not like nothing in game tutorial wise that it lets you know this is happening. Problem is because I'm playing on a PS4 with just a normal hard drive, the 1 terabyte it came with. It is taking the load times take a little bit. So yeah, when you die from something as cheesy as that, you're like, oh, all right, and you gotta wait, and then you're like, it's an annoyance. But there's a function in that custom settings if you want to just auto succeed, just straight up like I can just win them all, which honestly not so bad. I remember with Marvel's Spider-Man, they had one where I switched one of the buttons where instead of smashing all the time, because every time you did certain actions like stopping a car jacking, you'd always have to smash X or something like that to either bring the car to a stop, or the car flips over and lands above you, so you're holding the car above your head and you had to you're sitting there trying to hold it, and then you're just smashing X. Well, I'm like, as often as I'm just smashing X, I'm like, switch the option, and I went to hold. So I'm like, that way I'm not going to destroy my controller.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see how you'd want to. It would be good to just skip through the QuickTime event stuff, because that stuff is irritating to me.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's the thing is with there's a couple things with a slight polish. I guess I'm slightly upset with though, because the game makes you like, I walked by a couple doors early on that I'm like, oh, I guess these are locked. And then I'm like, okay, because I can see the doors on the right. I'm just passing them on my right side. I turn my character to kind of walk into it. Nothing happened. Okay, then I move to the next one. And as this room curves, I come up to the door head on. It opens up for me. Okay. And then later on, I end up coming back to those rooms, just that hallway. I'm like, let me see if I can open these doors now. Turns out you have to like turn the camera so it's facing like head on, and your character has to be facing head on, and then the door will open. And the same thing goes with items you pick up on the ground. So normally a game, you just walk over an item, you just mash the pickup button, and then it'll pick it up, no problem. Nope, this game you have to turn, look down at the item with the camera so you have to turn it so you're looking at the ground, and your character has to be standing in front of the item. Like the item can't be just in their proximity, like just right behind them, or you're standing right on top of it. You have to be slightly in front of it. So with the camera and your character, I'm like, really? Like, there's no way you could have just made this like you can just run past it. No, you have to actually manually turn it. So that was slightly like it's a nuisance. It's not, it's one of those conveniences. Like you should just be able to auto pick up or something. Just let me walk over it, press the button.
Yeah, for the
But
things
yeah,
like that, you do want to break that, or you do want to have that ludo narrative dissonance where you couldn't really do this in real life, so it breaks the realism. But it's also actually keeping it more realistic in your mind because you're just skipping over, or it's keeping it
it.
more fun in your mind. So
I was
because
gonna
you're
say
skipping
it's
over
there's a
dumb
difference
stuff.
between that ludo narrative dissidence, because that's what usually pertains to murdering a bunch of people,
Oh
and then
yeah,
you being a peppy happy guy. And then in this case, it's more of a convenience thing because it takes you out of the game when you're having to do all these extra small things. You're like, now here I am. I'm taking you're stopping me from having a fluid experience, and now I got to do this mundane bullshit. Um, it's that's kind of what uh the
yeah,
failure of that is. I mean, it's nothing too bad, but it is just a slight annoyance. Um, and like I said, because the way the story plays out, I'm enjoying it a lot actually. But because it's really hard to figure out what's going on, like as far as how well these people know each other, because it feels some ways it feels like they've known each other for a while, but other times it's like, wait, some of the stuff you're talking about, I know it's supposed to be to me as the viewer, you're filling me in, but the way you're explaining it to the other crew members, it makes it seem like you just met. Like you just joined each other. Like shouldn't you know a little bit about this beforehand? But the way you're explaining it, so that is a weird disconnect. So it almost feels like there should be a prologue or something like that to this. Um, yeah, there's a lot of items you pick up, and with those items, there's a lot of descriptions. I just skip all that. But some of the other items, though, they're character specific. At least when you go into your quarters, or their quarters, you can click on it, and then that'll engage in more conversation, which will give you more backstory behind them, connections to those different items, and that's actually kind of neat. Like I said, this game for me is mostly just a really decent story. The like I said, the gameplay itself, I can take it or leave it. I don't really find it that challenging. Um, it's challenging enough. You can make it more challenging, but I just honestly don't feel like that combat experience is uh, entirely too great. In fact, what I did was the only thing I changed with the combat settings is when you use your partner's abilities, I went ahead and just stopped time. I'm gonna play it like I used to play Knights of the Old Republic on the Xbox, where when the old BioWare games where you used to uh, Mass Effect 1 did this. When you go to use your abilities in your partner's abilities, time fully stops. You can rotate the camera, see what's going on, and then you can set up. All right, you will attack that person. You'll attack that person. So I have it mapped out in my mind. Then I go back. So maybe that's making combat a little more easy, but at the same time, I was finding it boring otherwise. So I'm like, it just it felt like I was just mashing. So I was like, yeah, I'm playing this for the story though, and I'm enjoying it. I'm going to probably end up beating this.
oh cool.
I'm moving at a good clip, is what I feel like. And it's a fun, different story. Everything's just slightly different. It's different from the Marvel MCU, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it does seem different, but it seems like people were pretty surprised that it was better than they thought it was going to be. Have you found that?
yeah. Like I said, as far as the story and the polish goes, I'm really pleased with it. So
Cool.
I would say if you have a chance to, if you like a good story, and if you're interested in the Guardians of the Galaxy, then that's great. They've mentioned Fing Fan Foom, which was a side. Like it's if you know the comics for was that Shang-Chi? It's a connection between that.
Ah,
They've mentioned a few other connections to other things. So they play around. They've even left the door open to multiverses type of thing, like alternate realities. Uh, so that's kind of neat. So you can technically, if you wanted to, weave it into the any other MCU or MC thing. So yeah, that's the only thing I've been playing for the last only couple days, 2 3 days, something like that. So yeah, totally.
it's pretty cool. Good man. So that's all we have for games, but now we'll get into the news a little bit. So a couple headlines, and then maybe get into some of the more in-depth stories. One thing I wanted to bring out was Dragon Ball Z narrator, voice actor Joji Yanami passed away. So it's a pretty big name in anime. So I just wanted to point that out. It's kind of sad, but I mean, we're getting to the point where those things are going to start happening. He was 90 years old, so he had a good long life.
No joke. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
R.I.P. Man. That's it. It always sucks when you lose someone that you kind of grew up listening to. It's how it's happening with actors left and right now too. So it's like, oh man, literally a
yeah,
piece of your childhood's going away with them. So
yeah. I mean, it's just going to become kind of more and more as time goes on. But just wanted to point that out. Um, Next, Ubisoft developers are reportedly critical of the company's NFT plans. So, this is kind of an extension of another story that has been going on. Ubisoft is going to put NFTs in some of their upcoming games. Joe, do you know what NFTs are?
non-fungible transactions or tokens.
Tokens, yeah.
It's yeah, you buy a piece of digital one of a kind items, which it's I love Keanu Reeves' reaction. There's a clip out there where he's getting interviewed and someone starts talking about limited digital quantities for NFTs, and he just starts laughing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know enough to hate NFTs. I don't know enough about it, but everybody else seems to fucking hate NFTs. Like it is
They're fucking stupid.
yeah, I mean they're dumb and it's kind of a speculative market and stuff like that. Um, I don't need them in my games. I don't feel like as long as it doesn't get in my way, I don't guess I would mind them being there. But it's interesting that the developers themselves that Ubisoft uses are saying like, nah, can we can we not? Can we just not do this? Um, so we'll
Give me
just
back microtransactions before you give me NFTs.
uh, uh,
That's on it. That's
uh,
that's where I stand.
okay,
That's how
but can you
NFTs are
explain
worse than
that?
microtransactions.
But like, can you explain like why it's worse?
All right. In this case, Ubisoft, to the best of my knowledge, is supposed to. They're trying to sell special, one of a kind items that are per game, not across. Like you can't buy. So you're going to buy a helmet or Rainbow Six or something like that, and on the helmet is going to have a number on it, and therefore that's the special item. NFTs in the broader sense are usually JPEGs or clips, GIFs of a single action, and therefore you're technically supposed to own that simple action. Like it's like a digital postage stamp or something like that.
Yeah,
Um, and it shows proof that you're the you're the rightful owner of this thing. Um, and I don't understand. My brain doesn't work in the way that processes the fact that this is a good idea. So I can't really wrap my head around the fact that it's a good idea at all. But for example, I think Tony Hawk sold like him doing his last 900 or some crap like that, or he was rumored to or something. I forget. I don't know if that actually happened. But it's like big sports moments. NBA got behind this originally real hard in the early off NFTs. So like uh, the key moments in history. They're like, yeah, we're going to sell this, and we're going to give you a digital proof saying that you are the sole owner of this key moment in history. Like, really? Um, there's no. Can I just clip it from the original video feed, and therefore I have it on my desktop forever? I mean, I don't understand how you're supposed to actually claim it as being personal. And in this case, in the games, though, they're going to be like, yeah, this is at least in the broader spectrum. I'm supposed to like this is Michael Jordan's last dunk. Okay, cool. I own that. Now in this case, they're gonna make this helmet. Well, therefore that one helmet should be unique and only to me. But they're like, no, this helmet is unique to you because it says you have number 042. Now this other person is going to buy a helmet special number 043. That's what makes that one special. And I'm like, that's fucking dumb. Uh, it's literally it's what it is. It's a numbered transaction. So now you got that like if there's I don't technically you have that limited item, but they're not necessarily saying that there's only going to be 100 of these helmets, period, and you
yeah,
have number 42 out of 100. No, they're just saying this is number 42. It goes on until as much as they want.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
It's
I'm glad they're stepping up against it though, because honestly, it's an idea they have, they shouldn't have, and they should just scrap it right away because there's no need for it.
I think you're right. I think it's silly. I don't know. I should probably do a little more research on it to understand, but it does seem painfully stupid. Um, Going on, another thing. I guess it's kind of a headline, maybe a little bit more. Doctor Disrespect has announced his new AAA game studio, Midnight Society. I pulled this up because I don't really like Doctor Disrespect. I don't go and watch his Twitch streams, but what I've seen from him, he seems really annoying. Some of the things I've heard about him sound like he's probably not somebody that I would like to be a part of. Anything that he does himself, as far as like a pundit is concerned. But I do have respect for people who go from like just being a talking head to actually doing actually putting something creative out there, like for him to make a game studio with whoever he's making it, about, he is opening himself up to legitimate criticism, and not just like, oh, you're a mean streamer, or I don't like the way you do things. He is going to be asking for money for a game, presumably, and opening himself up for like, hey man, you made something, and you're putting your money where your mouth is. And I, like, whatever you may think of him, at least he's doing that. And I don't feel like enough people who are in that position go to those lengths.
So is he making an Are You Afraid of the Dark game or what?
I don't know. I don't know what he's
That's what
making.
Midnight Society is in my brain.
Oh yeah.
So
I
the
think
Midnight Society presents,
it says he's um, it says he's teaming up with people from 343, um, or something like that. I don't know, but like
I honestly don't care. I'm
I
sorry.
I don't really care.
I don't care about him. He's I honestly didn't. I only knew him by his face, and then I remember when he got banned from Twitch for video recording at E3 in the bathroom, which is a federal crime. And then there
Yeah.
apparently was a minor in the bathroom too. He didn't. And then they're like, "We're banning you," and then they're like, not even like a couple weeks later, like maybe a week, he's like, "And you're back," So I was
Yeah.
like, "Wow, Twitch, that's way to stand strong on there."
It's almost like they do it in order to get more viewers.
Yeah, right.
It's almost
Uh,
like that.
So yeah, I know almost nothing about him. I just know he plays his character is he plays a heel. And it's like he plays the jerk character, and therefore the kids like it because everyone likes to watch an asshole.
Yeah.
It's and that's kind of it. And like, well, that's how he's made his empire that way. Honestly, I've never seen any of his stuff, so I can't actually say to the quality of any of that. So that's why I'm like, well, who knows if he plays a lot of first person games or like a lot of shooters, so maybe he'll make something really good.
Yeah,
We'll see.
and if you like him, then he's gonna make games for you. And if you don't like him, then you're gonna be able to fucking rake his games over the coals, unless they're just amazingly good. And then I guess we're all gonna be shit out of luck. So we'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
So all right,
Uh,
what else you got?
Next, indie studio called Beast Breaker Studio is the first to form a video game union. So they are the first video game studio to form a union. Unionizing has been on the forefront of a lot of people's minds ever since, for a while now, but especially ever since all of the mess with Activision Blizzard has been going on. They've been crying union. I'm not really quite sure how a union would help that situation. But I guess I don't know enough about it. But I thought it was interesting to point out, at least more kind of just reading a headline, that that a video game studio has formed a union.
Are they U.S. based or?
Yeah, I think they are U.S. based. At least in North America. I don't read the articles, dude. That takes too much time.
Because I know there's been a couple groups that have been trying to get like there's the voice actors like union, and then there's a couple there's two different teams that have been trying to really promote making unions for gaming industry in the US. But I thought there was like it's the fact that they're kind of assembling, but they haven't been able to fully take hold, is what my guess was. So yeah,
Yeah,
all right, that's at least there's precedence now, and hopefully that'll catch on. Because yeah, some of the industry stuff has been really bad. So we'll see. I
yeah,
mean, it's all about representation. I know a lot of people are against unions as well, but honestly, um, unions are there as a whole to help. So I know a lot of people that, thanks to other industries, unions have really supported them. When you need them, it's great that they have your back in theory.
yeah, yeah. There's some double-edged sword stuff to unions. Um, I think it's definitely good to have the option. I mean, that's just good. Free market economy is going to have that option. I think that probably with the onset of unions, because it seems like it's gonna happen more for sure. Um, Video games are going to become more expensive, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Video games are insanely cheap, not as cheap as they were a year or two ago, especially since they're going to start being $70 pretty regularly now. But like uh, if you look at like how much games cost from a historical standpoint, they are very, very, very cheap now, especially with all the sales going on. But even brand new games are very cheap. This will raise the price on them for sure, but it'll probably be worth it. Let's hope. Maybe we'll get better quality. Who knows? We'll just see where it goes.
Yep.
Um, there's kind of a lot this week. I didn't think there was that much, but there's quite a bit. CD Projekt Red has settled its Cyberpunk launch lawsuit, suing investors just $1.85 million. The company was accused of violating federal law by misleading shareholders about the game, the quality of the game. So yeah, seems like they got off pretty good, which is not really good for the games industry, in my opinion.
Yeah, they made bank even with all the problems and the refunds and stuff like that. They still made a lot of money. So yeah, I feel it's almost a slap on the wrist for them. I mean, I know that currently Epic, for example, they're selling it for like half off right now, so it's $30 instead of 60. And with the Epic's doing their winter sales event, so they you can get a $10 coupon. I'm like, I contemplated like $20 Cyberpunk. Like, nah,
No,
I still wouldn't pull the trigger then.
yeah, I was so looking forward to Cyberpunk. Um, and when it came out, I wasn't able to get it at the time. And then whenever all the mess started happening, it was like, no, I'm not going to do this. This article says that CD Projekt Red made over $563 million in game sales. How much it cost to make the game? It was probably pretty expensive, but if their projections were correct, then they probably were intending to make money. But they spent just 2.2 million on its help me refund campaign, so 2.2 plus another about 2, so a little less than 4 million, maybe a little more than $4 million that they kind of paid in speeding tickets, as it were. So you know, it's one of those things where it's like you can people can get mad and they can say a lot of stuff about boycotting and stuff, but at the end of the day, CD Projekt Red made a ton of money off of this game. I think the punishment though is going to come on the next game. That seems to be. I think that what these sales are is you did a good job with Witcher 3, and so people are going to give you the benefit of the doubt, even if there's a lot of bad reviews or whatever. Not a lot of people read reviews, or rather, a lot of people don't read reviews. So the next game, I guess that's where the proof is in the pudding, is on the next game. If they take a hit on whatever that game is, which it may be great, uh, that next game might take a hit, and that's kind of sad. But that's sort of the way that it goes. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
So the last story I think I have here is a blank page. Oh, there it goes. And then I hit reload. The last story I have here is something kind of close to our hearts as content creators who are technically on YouTube. There's a guy goes by the name Totally Not Mark, and he was hit with 150 copyright claims for reviews featuring anime footage. He specifically was hit by Toei Animation. Toei Animation makes, specific to him, Dragon Ball and One Piece content, which is almost all of the content on his channel. This guy, I was following the story pretty closely. He posted some videos, and a lot of people in the YouTube community blew up his videos or held them up, kind of saying like, "Hey, this guy is like getting like freaking, he's getting screwed hard." If you watched his videos when they were when they were up, because he's taken them down since then, probably because of probably for legal reasons. But he pointed out that Toei, in the span of a few hours, took down 150 videos. A lot of them in the same span of a few minutes. Sometimes even in the same minute, they were taking these videos down, which maybe they had looked at them prior and they had just decided to move on all of these all at once. I guess that's how it could work. I don't know. But he seems kind of like he's been targeted. And as far as like our laws in the United States, and he's in Britain, and their laws in the UK are concerned, he has the right to use other people's content in a transformative way. He is doing reviews. I haven't had a chance to look through all of his videos or even a lot of the ones that have been taken down, but the consensus that I've seen is that they are in compliance with those ideas. Unfortunately, Japan does not have those laws. Therein lies the problem. And they don't give a shit if you are doing a review and you're using the footage for that purpose. They take that stuff down anyway. So kind of going forward, he put out another couple videos. One video basically begging them through a translator, which is a pretty interesting thing. Haven't seen that before, but he wrote it's not an apology, but he wrote a kind of a letter to the people of Toei and to Oda. I forget his last name, or his full name, but the guy that makes One Piece. He wrote a letter and had it translated and spoken out on a YouTube video, basically asking them, "Hey, don't take my YouTube videos down. Please reinstate them." Blah blah blah. But all of that got taken down, and all that was left, all that he ended up leaving up was a thanks for the support video that's just a black screen of him talking over it, where he's like saying that he's not going to pursue the matter any further. So that tells me that somebody, I think somebody legally, some legal person got a hold of him and was like, "Hey, dude, fucking, you better quit because you're not going to win this battle." And they might actually take you to some kind of court, or somebody might do something about it.
Yeah, he's going to be, if he tries to fight it, he'll be made an example of. And just like people who go with the Nintendo piracy stuff. And yeah, it's unfortunately Japan has a very arcane way of owning their licensing and property.
Archaic, yeah.
Um, yeah, they very much hate the idea of things leaving their own ecosystem. They That's why you don't see a lot of Japanese musicians on iTunes or anything like that. It's only they don't like their stuff going digitally very much at all. And if it is digital, they generally like to keep it within whatever Japanese network it is. They like to have full ownership over all media. Him writing the author is like a nice attempt, but honestly, it's probably not even up to the author. It's in that case it'd be Toei for the animation, and possibly Shonen Jump or whatever, because they'll probably own all the real rights to it. Um, and despite the creator, they can have a certain say in it, but yeah, uh, I can totally. It's not really fair, but at the same time, it's kind of how their system works. I mean, when you watch a variety show over there, you'll see a bunch of B tier. Like a lot of variety shows have like a panel of B tier actors, and then they'll be talking about like, yeah, I worked with so and so on this one film, and on that film, instead of having their photo pop up, they'll have like a drawing, like a character drawing or something like that of that character, because
Yeah.
almost all likenesses, photos, this and like real photos are owned property of whatever company, whatever studio, because your soul, your likeness, all that stuff belongs to them. Actors and actresses, a lot of times they can't even officially come out with I'm dating, or I'm seeing, like, I'm married. A lot of those, like the pop idols and stuff
Oh
like that,
yeah.
both
That's horrible
like
for that shit.
yeah, you can't even be like, yeah, we're dating each other, or like I'm married. Like like if you come out and say that, and you're in like a guy group, and you're like, yeah, um I'm married or I'm seeing someone, they boot you, because they're like,
Yep.
yeah, we need you to be available, because you need to be their heartthrob, the thing that the fans chase
It
after.
ruins the
And
sex appeal, yeah.
yeah, it ruins your sellability in a lot of their eyes. So for that age demographic, like
Yeah.
that's anyway. So Japan's just really
Yeah.
horrible about that type of stuff. It sucks. It really does.
For like
And
go ahead.
oh no, I just, yeah, I feel for the guy. I mean, I can't believe it. Like, all his hard work, like all that time and dedication put towards it, towards his passion, and just to get slapped in the face by the very company that he's put all his, like the part, it's like, it's you don't do the reviews because he's not hate mongering. It's his appreciation for the product, and it turns around and just
Yeah.
to do this to him.
So like two things. The first thing is that it's weird, like Japan doesn't really understand that this guy has probably sold a good chunk of units for them. I mean, his if you're watching anime or whatever, and you're watching some other review for some other show, then his stuff is going to show up in your YouTube feed, and you're going to, well, I was kind of interested in that. Let me watch a review of it. Oh yeah, okay, so I'm going to go buy this. I mean, not that One Piece and Dragon Ball really need people to sell stuff for them, but his channel, it's an ad channel. I mean, that's not what he intends it to be, but that's what it is for them. That's how it benefits them. And it's just so funny to me that they don't fucking get that at all. Like, he's selling your product. Like, he loves this stuff. And it's just like, eventually, if they keep going down this path, I mean, I guess if they keep making great stuff, then it won't matter. But like, I just feel like so many YouTubers do a really good job of selling these products. It's not their intention, but that's the result. And it's sad that they don't realize that by just kind of fucking ignoring it, and giving some people some rope, that they can benefit from this symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, but it comes for them. It comes down to ownership. You're making profit off of their ownership, and that's the only way they see it. And it's been that way forever. It's not gonna change. So therefore, it's just like, it's
Well,
you gamble when you're doing this. It's like, when you use video footage from a movie to when during your review. If it's not a part of a trailer, you run that risk. There's if
Well,
you're
like,
playing music, the whole music scene, right? It's just you can't even and that's the whole with the gaming industry as well. For anyone who's doing let's plays or anything like that, you have to be careful with the music that's in the game showing up because that will get strikes and things like that. Which, oh yeah, Guardians as well has a lot of good music,
oh
but
yeah.
they have that switch so they can stop that, so you can stream it and not have the strikes against you for that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, one of the videos for one of the previous podcasts we did when we were talking about Squid Game, I used a trailer when we were actually talking about it and had to just cover over it because it was getting flagged for copyright. And I was like, it's a fucking trailer. Like, it's a literal ad. Like, what? But, and that's how it flagged it. It was like, oh, this is a trailer, or this is like a Indian Netflix release trailer. And I was like, fucking so. Yeah, you're right. I think it will change slowly as the old generation gets phased out. Um, will it change enough? I don't know. I think I might be in your camp on that point. But to your other point, like you got to be careful and stuff like that. Like if this is a lesson on anything, it's don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially if that basket happens to be Japanese animation, because they can at any time for any reason come and open up your guts on the internet live in front of everybody and just eviscerate everything you've worked so hard to make. Like this guy has, it's not one dude. Like he talks about it. He's got employees. He's got people that work for him to churn out this content. Um, and it's like I hate to victim blame, but like, dude, like you're not the first, you're not gonna be the last. You've you've got to make other content, even if you take a hit on views and stuff. You've got to make other content because you've got to survive. It can't just be all about Dragon Ball and One Piece, because then
Dude,
Toei
One
owns your
Piece is going to
balls.
continue forever. It is one of the longest running pieces of crap ever. I personally just don't like One Piece, but at the same time, it is still going.
Yeah,
Um, so and it's if it's something he's passionate about, something he loves, I can see why he did it. Um, and it's he didn't I'm not going to say you necessarily need to diversify if it's something if you know what you do. It's those guys who play Call of Duty and only stream Call of Duty, or one game at a time. Like, I can see why you do it if that's what you're passionate about. Just it's not, and he found a modicum of success. I mean, good on him for it. I mean, he has
he has like 600,000
YouTube plaque in
subscribers.
that screenshot there. So but
Yeah,
yeah, all right. I'm gonna forcefully change this to move on to the next bit because I got to be going soon.
that's fine. That's fine. We'll go ahead and get you out of here. So that's gonna be it for the news. And uh, this was just gonna be my what do you call it? Signal boost. So I'm just gonna drop a link to his video on thanks for the support in my signal boost, and that is gonna be it for us today.
All right. Yeah, real quick, shout out to I don't like promoting a major company, but Epic is currently doing their holiday. I remember they did this last year. They might have done this before too, but during this time of year, every day they give out a free game. So yesterday they gave out Shenmue 3. Today they're giving out Neon Abyss. So by the time this goes live, it depends on how early on Saturday you'll be able to still pick it up because sometime in the morning, I think. 10 o'clock U.S. Central Time, they switch over to the new game. So by 10 a.m. Saturday Central, they'll switch to the next new game. And they did this for like the run up to Christmas last year that I remember. So I recommend just checking it out and picking up a free game if you want. And if you don't like them to have your email and stuff, make a dummy account. Log in with the dummy account, you have fake email, and then you can have the free games and all that stuff on the fake email. You can still enjoy that, but then, if you don't want any other spam coming to your actual mail, is what I would recommend. And for real quick before I leave, so Nintendo sent me a thing saying how much I played the Switch, and apparently I played the Switch for a whopping 34 hours last year.
It's pretty good.
Um, barely anything at all. 27 hours was all playing one single game, and that was a lot of idle time because I just left it sitting there. But it was Kotodama, the Seven Mysteries of Fujisawa. It is a stupid little game that it's a match 3 game that is part school mystery, part erotic match 3. It was
Oh,
like I went into it like not really knowing much, but it was I
sure.
forget I bought it on sale before my
Yeah.
before one of my kids was born for like dirt cheap, and then I was like, yeah, dude, it's obviously you look at this main character on the screen, she has these dead fish eyes. I'm like, oh yeah, you're a total like there's something, this is a high school murder mystery, something like that. And like there's a murder mystery going on, but then also you're stripping clothes when you're matching 3, and I'm like, wow, totally not what I expected. And I played the game from start to finish. There's multiple endings. I like, and it leaves you with a really bad version of American Psycho. Like, wait, is that the ending? That can't be the ending. It's like, how did this just end? Give me answers, internet. The internet doesn't have any answers.
No, it
So
only has
next week,
questions.
I said, take a look at the email. I want to know what you played the most of out of your Switch this last year.
I don't think I've got it
So
yet, but I hope I get it.
yeah, because I got that one at last Tuesday. I forgot to mention it to you, but I just something that dawned on me. I'm like, yeah, out of all the games for me to play mostly within the last year, that was pretty much it. Then a few hours of Link's Awakening, and then a few on the SNES and NES classics, compilations. So that's really about it.
All right, man.
Um, yeah, Switch, good for playing when a kid is sleeping on your lap, and and you can't hold a controller because they're over you, so you have to have 2 separate arms away from you. Uh,
Everything is filtered through that lens.
all right, well, it was thanks for hosting today, and it was good catching up. Thank you guys for for staying with us to the end. Hope you enjoyed the show. Yeah, take us out, man.
All right, man. It's good talking to you. We'll catch you next time. Until then, see you later.
Take it easy.